is suing her ex-boyfriend, James Stewart, for travel costs and a loan.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2102, Peterson versus Stewart.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Peterson, you and Mr. Stewart met online?
Yes.
You met Mr. Stewart, and according to your complaint, a romance developed, and there are two things that you believe, now that the romance is over, that he owes you. One of them is a loan that you made to him for $1,000. Now, Mr. Stewart does not deny that you gave him $1,000, correct?
No, ma'am.
Your defense is that it was a gift.
Correct.
And not made as a loan. Okay. On what date did you and Miss Peterson start to date?
We never dated. We actually wasn't through no dating site. Just somehow, coincidence, we came through.
Did you see her?
I met her once in person.
When?
When she paid for a hotel for my birthday.
Give me the date.
January 30th.
Of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
So you met for the first time in January of 2022. Tell me about the $1,000. If you're playing with your papers, you're not going to hear where we're going.
Okay.
The $1,000 at that time, I was been struggling with heart disease, which I just got out the hospital for having a heart surgery last Friday. So financially, my dealership was a little bit under the burden. So I asked her if she would help me.
And when did you ask her? Was that in January?
No, ma'am. That's a couple months later.
All right, so that would be in March.
Yeah.
And it's the only time that you ever met her was in January.
I met her once, other than that, when she gave me the money. Other than that, it was just normally her texting me, how you doing? Do you want to meet up?
Okay. So you met personally twice.
Correct.
And after January, you didn't see each other personally, just by messages. And that's when you asked her for money. And you were going to tell me why in March you asked her for money. I understand that you just recently came out of the hospital, and while I'm happy to see you looking well and healthy, it's really irrelevant to this case.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so why did you ask her for $1,000?
Because she offered to help me.
No. Nobody offers to help you unless they know that you need help.
Well, it's in writing.
No. Nobody offers to help you unless you let them know that you need help.
I was kind of life coaching her. We both was going back and forth. We had an open line of communication, so I kind of got comfortable to ask. So I see what you're saying.
Got comfortable to ask?
She already gave me money before that $1,000. That's why I was comfortable.
Just a second. I'm talking about the loan. Mm-hmm. I want you to tell me, since you acknowledge that she gave you the money, tell me why you needed it.
Well, I needed it because I paid for the trip, which was $2,180, which she gave me $2,000 plus $160 more for luggage. Came to just shy of $2,400.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
Well, she's already came to me and gave me money for us to take this little trip together.
What does that have to do with this $1,000? That's not what I'm talking about.
Because she was supposed to come and reimburse some of the money because I paid already into the trip. So I was asking her for money.
Am I crazy? Did he start to talk about his business needing money? He has a used car business.
Yes.
Really, before you come on a program like this, you should really watch so that you would know that one of my favorite sayings is, if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory, especially if you're smart. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're not so smart, and within 3 minutes you tell two different stories, that, Mr. Stewart, is a phrase that you should learn to live by. If you tell the truth, you don't need a good memory.
That's not correct, Your Honor.
Well, that's only because you wouldn't know the truth, because you have been introduced to the truth.
He says, the $1,000 at that time, I was struggling with heart disease, which I just got out of the hospital for having a heart surgery last Friday. So actually, my dealership is a little bit under the burden, so I asked her if she would help me.
So you remember saying that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that's different from she was paying me back. You just have to acknowledge that's different. Okay. And let me tell you what you swore to in your answer. She offered to help me catch up on my child support.
On a phone conversation, yes.
I just asked you one simple question, sir. You acknowledged she gave you $1,000. What was it for? So now I have 3 reasons. 1, your car dealership was a little bit of a burden. 2, she was returning your money to you. And 3, you were catching up on your child support. Those are the 3 things that I have in front of me.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3?
Whichever one you would like, ma'am.
So far it's $1,000 for the plaintiff. Now, whether it was for school or whether it was for your children's support, she's not responsible for your children's support. You're responsible for your children's support. Have you ever met his children?
No.
She doesn't even know your children.
No.
Do you have a child support order?
No. She asked me to marry her, though.
Just a sec. I asked you a question,
Yes,
not
ma'am.
her. Do you have children? The answer is
Yes, I have children. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. This is not a dance.
No, I'm just
This is
saying.
not a dance.
Yes, ma'am.
You lead, I lead, I always lead.
Yes, ma'am.
Later,
You had some trouble with your finances, and you had serious debt. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a credit collections agent.
Not a good thing when you're a credit collections agent.
Joy Peterson claims her ex-boyfriend, James Stewart, owes for travel costs and a loan.
Now, the children do not live with you.
They're above age. Yes, ma'am.
When you swore in your answer that you had gotten behind in your child support order, what child support order was that?
It's the last child because I got behind because I was out of work. So they're above age, but I owe a little arrears.
Okay, so that's the child support that you were behind. Had you been noticed to come to court on those arrears?
I've never been in contempt, no, ma'am. I've always kept a good standings with them.
Okay, but you're behind now.
Yes, ma'am.
You were behind then in March.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you knew you were behind because?
I was on bed rest for 5 months due to a knee surgery and some heart issues.
Okay, did you request that your child support order that was on arrears only be stayed while you weren't working?
I got a new caseworker, wasn't willing to work with me at that time. So
Okay, so there was difficulty. Your caseworker was involved in this child support order. That sounds better. And the child support order was in favor of the state?
I don't owe the state no money. I paid all fees off with them. I just owe the back child support.
To the mother of the children?
Yes.
Okay, $1,000. Now, I'm going to come to you. According to you, you gave the defendant $2,000 to buy travel tickets for you.
Yes, Your Honor.
When?
I gave him money in March.
At the same time that you gave him the $1,000?
No, ma'am. That was in April.
Show me proof of that. And I want to see $2,000 taken out from someplace for him to pay for these tickets. And they were tickets for you to go from where you live, which is where?
Springfield, Ohio.
To Miami.
Yes, ma'am.
The $2,000 was in March. What were you going to do in March?
In March, I gave him the $2,000 to purchase tickets because I asked him, can you get discounts for us to go to Miami because I was going to have surgery. So he told me yes, sure. So I gave him the $2,000 for that.
That's not.
Then he said, well, that's going to be more than that. I said, well, that's all I have for the tickets for me and my daughters. He said he wanted to go, so he was planning on going.
Mr. Stewart,
Yes, ma'am.
on what date did she give you the $2,000 to buy the tickets?
It was early March. She could.
Yeah, March, looks like March 25th. She gave you $2,000. And when were you supposed to go to Miami?
We were supposed to go July 4th, and she.
Okay, just a sec. You're supposed to go in July. So you're talking about 4 months later.
Yeah, she canceled the trip.
Okay. When did she cancel the trip?
She canceled the trip about a month later.
So she canceled the trip in April.
Yeah, and it was a third party, so it's non-refundable.
I don't know that at all.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, just a second. So you're going to have to show me.
I didn't borrow it.
You borrowed the $1,000. I didn't say you borrowed this $2,000. She gave you money for a specific purpose.
Right, she wants-
Don't speak. She gave you money for a specific purpose to purchase airline tickets.
For us.
Which you... I don't give a rat's behind for who. She gave you money to purchase.
As I did.
Airline tickets.
As I did.
This is not a dance.
No, I'm just
This
saying
is
I
not
did.
you lead, I lead, you... I always lead.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
I always lead.
Yes, ma'am.
She gave you $2,000 to buy tickets. That you acknowledge. The trip was canceled 3 months before the trip. Now, you say they were non-refundable tickets.
Yes, ma'am.
Show me. I just want to see where you tried to get either a refund or a credit 3 months. And I don't speak. You have to show me, because you just said the tickets were non-refundable tickets And I could neither get money back for them when she canceled it or a credit. And I said, in all that paperwork, show me.
It's just public knowledge on their website. I apologize, I do not have it.
It's not public knowledge on any website. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. $1,000 loan, $2,000 for the tickets. We're finished here. Thank you very much. Out!
This court is adjourned.
Out!
She wanted to go on a vacation.
Taking advantage of me.
She was being a little aggressive.
Don't even look that way.
Now, hopefully, we can just move on with our lives.
I think we should print that on cards to hand out to people as they leave here. If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
That defendant, in the first 15 seconds, told 3 different stories about the same $1,000. Reminded me of a toddler when you ask if they had cookies and it's all over their mouth and they say, no, I didn't have chocolate, I didn't have candy. 15 seconds, 3 different stories. So if you tell the truth,
You don't need a good memory.
not at all.
Case 2158, Smith versus Crosley. All parties, please step forward.
Justin Smith is suing his ex-girlfriend, Jessica Crosley, for an unpaid loan.
Miss Crosley, I'm going to start with you. You and Mr. Smith were in a romantic relationship for a period of time.
Yes.
From when to when?
I want to say it was about a year before my son was born. My son was born February 11th, 2019, and our relationship ended about 4 or 5 months after he was born.
And after you separated, according to what I read, you sort of remained friends.
Yes.
Great. You had some trouble with your finances, and you had serious debt. What kind of work do you do?
I am a credit collections agent.
Not a good thing when you're a credit collections agent. And this was after you had already been separated for a long period of time. And at some point, what I'm piecing together is you discussed your financial circumstances with Mr. Smith.
Yes.
And one of your options was to seek protection in bankruptcy.
Correct.
And Mr. Smith thought that that was a bad idea.
Yes.
So he suggested that you take out a loan, consolidate all this debt, which was on, I assume, on credit cards with very high interest. And since he had credit, he would take out the loan and you would pay that loan off, which was manageable every month. Is that generally what this is about?
Yeah.
Yes.
His behavior had started getting irrational, scary, started calling me a lot, asking my whereabouts, texting me, driving by my house on several occasions I saw.
I'm still not understanding why you stopped paying on the loan.
Justin Smith claims his ex-girlfriend, Jessica Crosley, owes for an unpaid loan.
Mr. Smith did take out that loan month and year.
March of 2022, this year.
What were the payments each month, starting in March or April, principal and interest?
He had told me that it was $500.
Told you they were $500. He took out that loan, and am I correct, Ms. Crosley, that you paid off your credit card debt?
Yes.
And you paid off your debt with the loan that he took out?
Yes.
And you did, in fact, create a situation where the money, because you were employed, would come out directly from your bank account to go to pay off the loan to his bank account.
Yes.
And you did that in what month?
That was started, I believe, at the end of April or beginning of May.
And how many such payments did you make?
Biweekly payments, I believe I made about 6.
Thereby acknowledging that this was a loan. At some point, you stopped making the payments. What month did you stop making the payments?
In July of this year.
Why?
So I had started seeing my current boyfriend.
This is not a social show. Just tell me why.
So I had to take a day off of work to file for an order of protection.
Why did you have to take a day off from work to file for an order of protection?
Because I was advised to by a police officer I spoke to.
Okay, and I assume against him.
Yes.
Okay, give me the incident.
Okay. So in July, when I started seeing my current boyfriend, Justin had expressed that he wanted us to get back together, and I had told him no, that was not going to happen. And then his behavior had started getting irrational, scary, started calling me a lot, asking my whereabouts, texting me, driving by my house on several occasions I saw. And then there was an incident on July 19th where I had allowed his mother to take my son to a play and she was supposed to drop him off back to me. And instead of dropping him back off to me, she had dropped him off with his father at his work. And then I got a call from Justin yelling, saying, "Where are you? What are you doing right now?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm on my way back home. Your mom's supposed to drop off Braden." He's like, "I have Braden. I'll meet you at your house." So I said, okay. We got to outside my house, and then he pulled up next to me and then started screaming out of the car, like, "Where were you? What were you doing?" I was like, "I was spending time with Anthony, my boyfriend." And he's like, "I'm taking Braden. I'm not going to give him back to you." And my son's crying in the back seat. And I said, "No, you give him back to me. It is my day to have him." And he drove away. He later called me and said I could meet them at Dairy Queen. So I met them there. I got out of the car. I went up to my son. And as I was getting him in the car, Justin had walked up to my car and started yelling and swearing at me. And as me and my son started driving off, he threw a milkshake at my car, which scared me and my son very much.
Okay, good. And you filed for an order of protection. You had a trial on the order of protection,
Yes.
and the judge dismissed your order of protection.
Yes.
After the trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm still not understanding why you stopped paying on the loan.
So when I had lost my job,
You lost your job when?
the next day, the incident happened on the 19th. I had to take the 20th off to file for the order of protection. The 21st, I was let go.
Oh, that had nothing to do with you being let go. Nothing. I just want to know why you stopped paying on the loan. You stopped paying on the loan because you lost your job? Are you working now?
Yes, I just started working.
Well, did you start paying him back?
No. So
Why?
also in July, when all these incidents happened, Justin had stopped paying for daycare, which was our agreed upon child support payment. We don't have a court order for child support, but he had been paying all of daycare. I cover all of his other finances.
So that was an agreement that you had, that he would pay for daycare.
Yes.
Okay. And he stopped paying in July.
Yes, he started only paying half of daycare.
Okay, so well, let's go back. He started paying for half.
Yes.
How much was he supposed to pay per month?
$560 was the full amount of daycare each month.
Okay, and he had been paying that. In July, he cut it down to?
To 270, I believe.
80.
80.
Okay, so he wasn't completely not paying. He was paying part of it.
Correct.
Tell me why you cut the payments in half, because you have a counterclaim for that.
Yeah. So in July, we started a custody case for full custody of our son.
You're talking in July. Who started the custody case?
I did, Your Honor.
Okay. Did you retain a lawyer?
I did.
Is that case still ongoing?
It is.
Well, then I'm not entertaining anything about the daycare because you have that case in family court. The court there will make a determination as far as future child support and whether or not this daycare should have been paid. So you have no reason for not paying the loan.
I was planning on filing bankruptcy.
Okay, but you didn't. You didn't file for bankruptcy. You did the smart thing. How much is left on the loan?
It's in excess of $12,000 or $11,000.
What interest rate is on that loan, by the way?
36%, I believe. Current balance as of November 30th, $12,631.
How is a 30% loan better than her credit cards?
She had some loans in excess of 800%.
From whom?
Or over 500%. These were online lenders.
Wow. Okay, you have a counterclaim. Harassment, daycare costs is out. Lost wages because you say you had to take a day off to file a protective order and you were fired? Nonsense. Harassment, let's hear it. And don't go back to anything that you told the judge during the hearing that you had where he dismissed your application for an order of protection.
Okay, well, the order of protection.
Okay,
That was-
They're just shh. Well, if that's the testimony, it's already been adjudicated. A judge, using the same measure of proof that I would use, dismissed your case. So I'm not relitigating that case. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I believe he was angry that I started a relationship with somebody.
I think the restraining order was part of her defense as to why she didn't want to pay me back anymore.
I was ready to file bankruptcy, and he had offered to take it out for me.
You know, at the end of the day, the loan is still agreed upon and still needs to be repaid.
I think that that's a good lesson, that you can't use the court systems and restraining orders to get out of a loan that you have really no excuse for not paying except for you lost your job. And I just think it's tricky. I think that a lot of defendants come in here and think that they can just say, I didn't have the money and so I don't have to pay it. But that's not the case.
What's most interesting to me is these 800% or 500% or 100% interest-bearing loans.
I know, it's
Where
something.
did that come from?
It's something I've seen recently in the past couple of years. It seems like every online shopping venue now has some form of loan payment or loan offering or sign up for our loan program. And I'd never seen that before. And if you don't read the fine print, you could get stuck in just.
Kaloyan Popyanchev is suing fellow motorist Spencer Gilbert for car damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2084, Popyanchev versus Gilbert.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Popyanchev, you were driving in your car, 2008 BMW.
That's correct.
And that was on the 14th of November of
That is correct.
last year. Tell me what time of the day this accident happened.
It was approximately 3:15 p.m.
So daylight hours.
Yes.
And tell me where you were going.
I was going eastbound on Sunset Boulevard in Beverly Hills. I was driving
Eastbound on
Sunset Boulevard in Beverly Hills. I was driving in the right, so-called slow lane when I tried to make a right turn.
where?
It's a intersection. The name of the street is Palm Drive.
Is that intersection controlled by a light or stop sign?
No, there is no stop sign or a light.
At that intersection?
That is correct.
I assume somebody has a video or a photograph of that section that would demonstrate that there is no light. You do. Is there a light or a stop sign at that intersection?
No, Your Honor, there's not.
Did you put on your signal indicating a right turn?
Yes, I did.
How far from the corner?
I can't state distance, but it was approximately 5 seconds before I reached the intersection.
Was there traffic that day?
Yes.
A lot?
Very light. It was Sunday.
So far, Mr. Gilbert, is that correct, that there was light traffic on that day?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were traveling on a motor something called a Vespa, which is a small
scooter, yes, Your Honor.
but motorized.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't know about these things, does a Vespa have to be registered and have a license plate on it?
I do have
It's
a
yours.
license plate on the Reddit.
Okay, so your Vespa is registered as a motor vehicle, and you have a license plate.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now tell me what happened, sir.
As I proceeded to make a right turn onto Palm Drive, I just heard an airflow. It was a big bang. It was an impact.
On your passenger side?
On my right passenger side, and I realized that there was a small motorcycle or a moped that hit my vehicle.
Hit your side. And you were the person riding that Vespa?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. May I see the damage to your car?
Yes.
Sarah Rose, get me the price of the 2008 BMW 7 Series.
Will do.
Thanks. What you're talking about is this damage, sir. Is that correct?
Yes, front passenger.
I see.
Yeah.
I've just made a circle. Can you see the circle that I've made?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And that is, Mr. Gilbert, where you hit him with your Vespa.
It's where he hit me with his car.
No, he can't hit you sideways, sir.
He sideswiped me.
He can't hit you sideways, sir. He can't slide into you. Now, whose ever fault this was, I'll try to figure it out. But you hit him because this is the area of impact. Cars don't go sideways, they go front. You have pictures of your Vespa?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at them.
Your Honor, based on a 100,000-mile BMW 7 Series, between $4,700 and $7,800 is about the range.
I just want to know, because I have to see what this kind of he's suing for $10,000, which is ridiculous. That doesn't show me much, actually. Okay, so I can't see the front of your Vespa, sir. I assume that the front is the end that's damaged because I see the back.
Yeah, the front end was completely
just
collapsed.
A second. So the front of your Vespa was damaged because that's where you hit him with your Vespa.
No, you're
The
not.
back
That's
end
incorrect.
was not damaged, nor does it look like the sides are damaged. These are the pictures you gave me. The only thing I can't see is the front crushed end. Am I correct that I can't see the front crushed end? Okay.
Yes.
So now I'm telling you that based upon these photographs, yours and his, you hit his car. Okay, now that's the chart. Whose chart is that?
It's from the police report.
Great. Now, the police report doesn't show a bike lane there or any other lane. It shows that there's a car traveling in a car lane and the Vespa hitting. See, he can't hit. You can hit. He can't hit you. Now, tell me, sir, why is it that you were driving where you were? You were behind him initially.
No, Your Honor. I was traveling eastbound down Sunset, heading to work. He was right next to me. When we got to Palm, he turned into me, pushed me. I barely was able to keep control of my vehicle.
Is what you're telling me that your Vespa was never behind his? This you're not getting. I want you to get this right out of your mind. Your whole car isn't worth $10,000. Let's be serious. I don't have all day. Do you have a bill?
And later today.
And I know you're dying to tell me that there was noise there, that you couldn't live there, that it was terrible. Well, that's what happens when you live in a place with a whole bunch of other people.
Kaloyan Papionchev claims fellow motorist Spencer Gilbert owes for car damage after hitting him with his Vespa.
Is what you're telling me that your Vespa was never behind his?
No, I was never behind his vehicle.
Do we have any other video?
I do have a dash camera video of the.
May I see it, please? Play it again, please. Start from the beginning. So let's go slowly. Okay. Well, it's clear to me, Mr. Gilbert, that you came up behind him. Just go back a little bit. You weren't right next to him because...
I was next to him because as he slows down to make his turn, that's when he makes contact with me. I was right next to him the entire time.
Impossible. May I see the police report, please?
Yes. There's actually 2 police reports.
May I see them? Was anybody given a summons on that day? Nobody. Neither party was given a summons. Is that correct?
Not that I know of, Your Honor.
Okay, so this is the narrative after witnesses were questioned, and the opinion based upon the witnesses' testimony and yours, and the fact that the police officer actually heard in the video the clicking of the turn signal indicating a right turn approximately 5 seconds before the right turn was executed according to the police officer as a result of viewing the cam that he had, the video, that he was making a slow right turn. He had turned on his signal approximately 5 seconds before, and you were coming up on him on your right. And it says, based upon the video footage, I determined that the first car, and that would be his, should not have been placed at fault for this collision because he activated his turn signal and made a safe turn to go southbound on Park Drive. The fault of the collision is on the part of Mr. Gilbert for violating 21755 CVC, which states in part that the driver of a vehicle may overtake and pass another vehicle on the right only under conditions permitting that movement safely. I'm reading you the police report. Do you have another police report?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Prior to this or after this one?
This is the only police report that I know of.
Oh.
I wasn't aware there was 2.
Well, this was a supplementary police report. What is the date of yours?
All I have is what my lawyers gave me.
Oh, well, I'm going to show you this one, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And this one was after viewing the cam.
Yes, Your Honor, my police report predates his.
Predates it. Well, that's after the officers looked at the dash cam, heard the signal, and saw you coming up from behind. I'll take it back now. I've seen the damage on your car, sir.
Yes.
Which, while I wouldn't like to have it on my car that's 14 years old, it is on your car. It's not worth $10,000. Your whole car isn't worth $10,000, sir. So if you want to show me a reasonable estimate for fixing that, I'll be more than happy to look at it.
Yes, I do. And this estimate was given to me by the only body shop that is authorized by BMW.
I'll find another body shop for a 14-year-old car. I'm certainly not going to consider giving you anything near the value of your total car for something that is on the door of one side of the car. Have you had the car fixed, sir?
I had the entire door replaced, but it's still...
Replaced by whom?
By a body shop.
Good.
Yeah.
And if you had the whole door replaced, you must have a bill. This you're not getting. I want you to get this right out of your mind. Your whole car isn't worth $10,000. Let's be serious. I don't have all day. Do you have a bill for the door that you replaced from a body shop, which is what I said a moment ago?
No, I do not have it with me. The vehicle is still due paint and dents and scratches repair.
Well, they're going to fix the car, and if they can fix the car for $2,000, have it fixed. That's my judgment. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Certainly not happy about it.
I am happy. It is something.
The problems that this gentleman's caused my life.
It happened in about 2 seconds.
I was like riding right next to the dude, and he just turned into me, and I went into the wall, and that was pretty much it.
I had to call 911 immediately because I wasn't sure if he's dead.
Because of what he did, I wasn't able to go to work for 2 weeks. I lost 2 of my jobs.
First thing to do is you call 911 and then deal with, the rest of the circumstances.
One theme that we see far too often is plaintiffs coming here or to any court asking for a large sum of money, in this case $10,000 for a car that wasn't even worth $6,000. And instead of showing us an estimate of fairy tale land of what was going to fix it, show me a receipt for what you paid to fix the damage.
Yeah, because he did fix the damage.
He fixed the damage already, replaced the whole door. You don't have a receipt for that. You don't have a bill. You don't have a nothing, which leads me to believe that it was a lot less expensive than $10,000. So I thought your judgment was generous, given that he had no proof. I would have said goodbye.
Well, he did damage the car. Not that I'm going into history, but as one who has, on occasion, hit a stationary object, even allegedly hit a stationary object, and get a little nick on a bumper on a car. It's expensive to fix a car. So he had a car that looked in perfect condition. It wasn't after it was hit. He's entitled to have it look like what it looked like before.
I just felt there was sort of a bait and switch with the $10,000 estimate, but I already got it replaced.
Fixed. I think that he said that. I think that he said that unintentionally.
I also think he did.
It's okay.
Won't get one over on us.
No.
Case 2090, Oquendo versus Villarreal. All parties, please step forward.
Amber Oquendo is suing her former tenant, Nancy Villarreal, for unpaid rent.
Miss Oquendo, you own a home.
Yes.
How large is the home?
It's 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and approximately 1,700 square feet.
When did you purchase the home?
2018.
Can I ask you what the cost was?
$225,000.
And you live there in the house, just you, with whom?
I don't live in that house. That's my rental.
You bought it as a rental? Somebody was playing their music loud. It was a problem for you.
Yes.
You asked them to be quiet.
Yes,
you
Your
told her it was a problem.
Yes.
And then there was some sort of a kerfuffle. I don't know what happened. You want to tell me?
Amber Oquendo claims her former tenant, Nancy Villarreal, owes for unpaid rent. Nancy is countersuing for her security deposit.
Now, you bought it as a rental? You bought it as a business?
Originally, I purchased it and I lived in one room. My kids shared a room and I rented 2 rooms until I was able to establish basically a history of being a landlord. And I then purchased another home and I live in my own residence, and that one is fully a rental as of now.
And also a resident of that home are your parents?
Yes, they are in the master.
And you have another tenant there?
Yes, there are a few other tenants.
Tell me who.
So I have one tenant who has asked not to be identified by name, but he is in one room that I have marked as room number 2. And then I have another tenant who's in room number 3. And then Nancy was in room 4, and there's now a new tenant in that room.
Okay, this is what it's about. The defendant was a tenant of yours. It didn't work out. And it was a short tenancy. I think it lasted no more than a month.
Yeah, right.
Is that right? June of this year?
Yes, Your Honor.
It didn't work out. She left. It is your claim that she left owing you a month's rent. And I assume from your paperwork that the month's rent was $774.
So it was $650, and then the $774, the remaining difference was just for being served and then court costs. But month rent was $650.
$650. And when the defendant moved in the beginning of June, did she sign a lease?
Yes, and I'm just going to correct you. Sorry, she moved in May 7th, so just wanted to correct that. But yes, she did sign a lease.
May I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You have a copy of your lease, Ms. Villarreal?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. So it's a month-to-month tenancy. It's an at-will with 30 days written notice. Okay. According to the lease, there was a security deposit of $650.
Yes, ma'am.
Did the defendant pay that when she moved in?
Yes, she did.
Okay, because that's your counterclaim. You say you want your security deposit back.
Yes, ma'am.
I assume from reading both of your complaint and answer that this turned out to be not a happy tenancy. You don't live there on a full-time basis. The defendant did live there for a short period of time. You moved in, rented a room, and you gave her $650, and you moved in on May 7th.
Yes, Your Honor.
Correct. And you moved out on what date?
I moved out on July the 10th.
So you were there for 2 months?
No, I was there for 1 month.
May to June, June, July. May 7th.
I moved in I believe it was June because I moved out July the 7th.
Our lease was signed on May 7th, so I know that.
Yes, the term of the lease is beginning May 7th. That's the term of the lease, according to this. So I don't care when you moved in.
Okay.
The term of the lease was May 7th on a month-to-month basis. So you were there from May 7th to July 10th. So you were there for 2 months.
Okay.
We're going to get into the whys, wherefores in a moment, but did you pay the month of May?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you pay the month of
Yes,
May?
ma'am.
Good. Did you pay the month of June?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And you lived there until July 7th?
No, I actually lived there until...
You just told me July 10th, as a matter of fact. Whitney's going to tell me what date you gave as your move-out date. You said it was July 10th.
She said, I moved out on July the 10th.
Okay, July, and it was, yes. July
So you
10th.
were there for 2 months?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. If you were there for 2 months and you only paid 1 month's rent?
Yes.
So far, you owe her 1 month's rent. Did you return her security deposit?
Yes.
Did you receive your security deposit?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much?
$650.
Okay, so you have no counterclaim. The counterclaim is for your security deposit. The rest of it is nonsense. You moved out, you wanted to pay your moving costs, your hotel fees, and everything else. That's ridiculous. Okay. So if you've received your security deposit now, what you owe her is a month's rent, which is $650. And I know you're dying to tell me that there was noise there, that you couldn't live there, that it was terrible. Well, that's what happens when you live in a place with a whole bunch of other people. Did you look at this room before you moved in?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Okay, so you went to the house. Mm-hmm. When you went to see the house, Amber was there. Mm-hmm. She introduced herself as the landlord. That's what it says here.
Yes.
And she let you know that she wasn't in the house, that her parents were in the house as tenants, but she wasn't in the house.
Yes.
And you moved in and somebody was making noise. Somebody was playing their music loud. Mm-hmm. It was a problem for you.
Yes.
You asked them to be quiet.
Yes,
you
Your
told her it was a problem.
Yes.
And then there was some sort of a kerfuffle. I don't know what happened. You want to tell me?
Yes, Your Honor. I am a federal employee, Your Honor. And when I signed this lease back in May, it states there, and I'm also in recovery, Your Honor, and it states very clearly in the lease that there is absolutely no smoking on the premises or no drugs on the premises, Your Honor. There was absolutely marijuana being smoked in the house. And right after I brought that to her attention, I then received a 30-day termination notice.
Okay.
Because I absolutely could not live in that house anymore with my job. I felt it was not a safe place for me.
Where did you go? Just a second. Is that your son?
This is my son.
Okay. Does he live in the area? I know you called him and he came and helped you move.
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
Who does he live with?
My son? He rents a room with roommates.
So he has roommates?
Yes.
Tell me where you went when you left. You didn't get a 3-day notice to quit. You got a 30-day notice from her that she was not renewing the lease pursuant to this.
Right.
You chose to leave in 3 days. That was your choice.
Because
you had 30 days to stay, and you had a month-to-month tenancy. Mm-hmm. Okay? You chose to leave. So where did you go?
I got a U-Haul. I didn't really have a place at the time to go, but my boy's grandmother offered her place to me, so I stayed there for a couple weeks. She said, you pay $180, I'll let you stay here for a couple weeks until I was able to find another place, Your Honor.
And then you did?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Great. Okay. So your security deposit you have, and she doesn't have her month's rent, which is $650. Are we done here? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $650. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I am not aware of anyone using marijuana in my house.
There was marijuana being smoked in the house.
My dad says that he's not smelling it, so I guess I can't really attest to the legitimacy of that.
It was not a safe place for me to be.
You know, some people don't realize, Sarah, that if you leave a premises that you have lived in, it's like going to a restaurant and ordering a steak and then delivering the steak, you're taking a bite and say, you know, I really don't like that steak, and finishing it, and then telling the waiter you're not going to pay for the steak. I always say you ate the steak. If you're a tenant and you find the living conditions such that, you know, you find it untenable to live there, you have a prerogative of changing your residence, but you don't live there for 2 months and only pay for 1, and then make excuses because you ate.
Nishera Garrett is suing her former friend, Michael Kodia, and his girlfriend, Brianna Serrano, for a personal loan, car damages, and an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2056, Garrett versus Kodio scenario.
Thank you. Ms. Garrett, this gentleman, Michael Kodia, is that
correct? Ms.
Kodia?
Yes.
You and Mr. Kodia have been lifelong friends, according to what I read in the complaint. Lifelong, you're both very young. How do you know him?
Well, we used to ride bikes together. His mom used to also braid my hair when I was a child every Sunday.
But you and Mr. Kodia were never involved in any relationship other than just friendship?
No.
And Mr. Kodia, Miss Serrano is currently your girlfriend?
Correct. Yes, Your Honor.
She had been your girlfriend and been living with you for a while, and you have a child together?
Yes, correct. Well, she's currently pregnant.
We're
expecting, yeah, they're expecting.
Great. You had a fight with Miss Serrano, and that was around June of this year?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it was a substantial enough fight that Miss Serrano left the home, and she left the home with your child. And how old is your child?
As I was saying, we are expecting.
So you don't have a child together?
She's 6 months pregnant, though, currently.
Okay. So you just living, and she left?
Correct.
At about the same time, Miss Garrett, your friend, needed a place to stay.
I wouldn't say needed a place to stay, but...
What would you say?
It was more like, I kind of had a clue, like she had a place to stay, but it was just one of those situations.
No, look over here. Look over here. Okay.
Sorry.
Now, Mr. Kodia, I want you to understand there are very few stories that are new under the sun. I want you to really understand that. I have children. I have grown grandchildren, boys and girls. I've seen all the movies that I want to see about romance and guys. So your girlfriend leaves you.
Yeah.
Yes. And would it be fair to say that you invite Miss Garrett to come and stay with you?
Yes, it would be fair.
Had you ever invited her to come and stay with you before?
No, I have not. Not in the current apartment that I'm staying in right now, no.
Had you in another apartment?
No.
So the answer is you had never invited your friend to come and stay with you before?
No.
Interesting. So on June 27th, she left. On what date did you invite Miss Garrett to come and stay in your apartment?
June 16th.
June 16th?
Yes.
So 11 days before Miss Serrano left?
Miss Serrano left about a week prior to her coming.
What date did you leave, Miss Serrano? Do you recall?
I don't recall. I recall it was the end of, or mid-June of this year, I would say. I had personal things going on, so I really wasn't, you know.
Now, Miss Serrano, I'm going to ask you why you left.
We had a falling out. Me and Michael had a falling out.
Yes. What did you and Michael have a falling out about?
Well, at the time, my mother was in the hospital, so that it was a disagreement surrounding having to move back home and take care of her in the household.
And?
And that was pretty much it.
Well, what did he say? He said he didn't want you to, and you...
Yeah, he pretty much, long story short, didn't want me to move back to my mother's house, so that caused, you know...
Okay, so he wanted you to stay?
Yes. Yes, he wanted me to stay, but, you know...
He wanted you to stay. Now, did you know that the two of you were expecting at that time in June?
Yes. Yes.
So he knew that you were expecting a baby, that you wanted to go back to your mother's house because she was ill and you wanted to help take care of her. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
And despite the fact that he said, don't go, you left?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went home?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And it would be fair to say that he was annoyed?
If you want, yes.
Oh, I'm getting this whole picture now. It's so easy. Okay. And about a week later, he invites this attractive young lady who's been a friend of his for a long time, a non-romantic friend, to move into the apartment.
Yes.
You know that was nasty, right?
Oh, no, yes, I know.
You know that was nasty.
That was an agreement between them.
No.
And, you know.
But you know that was a sort of a nasty thing to do.
Oh, no, I'm fully aware. Yes, yes ma'am.
I just want you to know what you're sort of dealing with.
Yes, I'm fully aware of what I'm dealing with. Thank you, though. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, so, Mr. Kodia, in order to sort of get even a little bit, you invite Miss Garrett to come and move in. No rent or anything, because you didn't have an agreement to pay rent. You weren't going to pay rent or anything, and you moved in. And you moved in on?
I moved in on the 1st.
On the 1st of?
July.
July 1st. Now, Miss Serrano, I'm going to come back to you because this is such a fascinating story.
Oh, Lord.
Such a fascinating story. And he deserves to get dumped on a little bit.
Oh, there's more where that came from, yes. I said that's more where that came from, yes.
Okay. And between the time you left and July 1st, when Miss Garrett was invited to come to stay at the house, were you in communication with Mr. Kodia?
Yes. I would say like every day or every other day we spoke, arguments, you know how it is.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're pregnant and you have emotions, and then you're taking care of family members and whatever. And so I got it. Did he tell you that Miss Garrett was moving in?
Yes.
When?
I would say I found out around like the 27th, 28th.
Of June?
Yes.
Tell me how you found out that she was moving in.
I believe at that point she was already moved in at that point.
Okay. And what made you think that?
Just based off of how the conversation went or how he told me.
Tell me what he told you.
What I was told was that a friend was moving in to solely cook and clean.
See what's happening to him? This fly is getting vengeance on him.
Not getting on the food.
What the hell's going on? Oh, you got a swapper too, wow.
I'm waiting for it to come over here.
Yes.
Nashira Garrett claims her former friend, Michael Kodia, and his girlfriend, Brianna Serrano, owe for a personal loan and an assault.
Tell me what he told you. I'm curious. I want to know.
What I was told was that a friend was moving in to solely cook and clean. That's what I was told.
Okay, did he tell you who?
Who it was. I never met her.
But he told you who it was?
Yes, he told me who it was.
And that made you, I would probably guess, a little annoyed and unhappy.
I mean, I was annoyed.
I would be annoyed.
I mean, I was annoyed because I had personal things going on, but in between that time before actually realizing that she was living at my apartment, I actually had a brief interaction with her. I met her at a park. I met her. So...
Between the time you moved out?
Yes.
Okay. Was it you met because you contacted each other, or
no,
you met by accident?
We met because me and Michael just, had a conversation to have had at that point in time. I'm assuming she was there in the area, so he just wanted to kill two birds with one stone. He said, do you want to meet the person, who's there, who I'm living with, and that's how it went.
And was it a cordial meeting?
Yes, it was.
You met her, she met you?
Yes.
And he said, I just want you to meet the lovely-looking girl that I'm now living with because you went home to take care of your mother.
I guess so, if you wouldn't have put it...
Yes, he...
Don't forget.
This is what your case is about. First, you claim that you loaned Mr. Kodia $750 for rent.
Yes.
And you did that because he said once Miss Serrano moved out, she wasn't paying her rent. He was short on rent. That's what I read here. Mr. Kodia has a whole different story. He said while he told you that he was a little short on rent and he was going to have to get a third job.
That's not true.
Just a second. You jumped in and offered to give him $750. That's what you wrote here. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, Mr. Kodia, did you tell Miss Serrano that somebody was moving into the apartment just to cook and clean? That's what she says.
Yes, that's exactly my words. Exactly my words, yeah.
That's exactly what you told her.
Correct.
You didn't tell Miss Serrano, the soon-to-be mother of your child, that you had a roommate who was paying rent.
I did not.
Miss Serrano, what kind of work were you doing when you were living together in June?
I had a work from home position, will still currently do as a Medicaid specialist.
Were you sharing rent with him?
Yes, everything was 50-50.
Did you pay him any rent in July?
No, I did not.
Did you pay him rent in June?
Yes.
So you paid him the $750. That was your share of the rent? Is that what your share was?
That was my share of the rent. June was already paid for. July I did not pay because I did not believe I was going to be there.
Okay. Tell me what he said to you that caused you to give him this $750.
Well, he texted me one morning and said that Brianna was no longer going to pay her half of the rent as of July, and that if he could...
You were living there already?
Yes. And if I give him $750, he would give it back to me. And we never discussed anything about me cooking or cleaning. I actually brought groceries, which he said that he would pay me back for, too, while I'm staying there.
Okay.
So
So
it
you
wasn't
were
an
actually there
exchange.
for 5 days, is that right?
About 5 days.
5-6 days. And at some point around the first week in July, July 5th, 6th, or 7th, you came to the apartment.
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
We had went inside the apartment.
Who's we?
Michael and I, sorry. Michael
So
and I
you were
went-
so you weren't staying there. Where had you met him?
We actually met at work. We've been together for a year and a half.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But you came home to the apartment together, and that was, I think, on the 7th of July.
Yes.
On the 7th of July. Where had you been? You'd been out. You hadn't been staying in the apartment.
Oh, no, yeah. I was out actually just going to rosaries and stuff like that. I actually went to go pick him up after a family function from work. After picking him up from work, we went back to the apartment, went upstairs.
Was that the first time you had been back to the apartment?
No.
Since you left?
Since I left, I've been there on and off. Like, not on and off, but like every other couple days. But I've been there, not living there, but I've been there spending the night and, you know.
Have you ever, when you were there, have you seen Miss Garrett?
Nope, but I've seen her belongings, though.
Okay. But you knew she was there because he told you that she was there.
Exactly.
So on the 7th, you picked him up, you went back to the apartment, and you'd been there before, but you had never actually physically seen her in the apartment.
Correct.
Despite the fact that you knew she was there.
Correct.
Because you'd been introduced to her.
Correct.
Okay. And what happened?
So we went upstairs. She seen that I was with him, and I guess that must have made her mad.
No, just tell me what happened.
So there was an argument.
Tell me what the argument was.
I don't even know what the argument was, honestly. She just seen me, and then there was an argument that unfolded about what I still don't know still to this day.
Okay, so now Miss Garrett, they came home, and?
Okay, so them two never came in the apartment together at all that night and previously.
No, just tell me that night.
Oh, that night. So me and Michael discussed that, hey, listen, things are not working out. He has had multiple people in and out his house, and he was making me very uncomfortable, as well as Miss Serrano popping up.
So what do you say? He's had multiple people in the house?
Guys, women every night. I would sleep in the park. One night I slept in the park because he had Miss Serrano popping up at 3 o'clock in the morning, her throwing my things around, telling me to get out the house. So I had to go in my car and go sleep in the park. And we had conversations that night when it happened, when she popped up. Hey, can I go sleep?
What date was that?
It was, I want to say July the 2nd or the 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before the 7th?
Right.
Okay. And that's when you went out and slept in the park?
Yes.
Just a second. Mr. Cody, you remember that evening?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And that evening on July 2nd or 3rd, Miss Serrano was around, and they don't get along.
They do not.
Which is exactly what you anticipated.
Of course.
When you invited her to stay with you.
Sadly.
Absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Going to have two women fight over the prize, the grand prize. Okay. Did you take $750 from her?
No, I did not.
Did you? I didn't ask you a loan.
Yes,
I didn't ask you. She has proof that she gave it to you.
Yes, she
Okay,
gave it.
so let's not play. Did you take $750 from her?
I did.
So it goes back to her. That's $750. Now we're going to get to what she alleges is the remainder of her lawsuit, which is damages for assault. Okay. On the 7th of July, there was some sort of an altercation. You want to tell me what that was?
Yes.
You did something that annoyed him. You went back to take care of your sick mother, which also attests to his bad character. And then what he does is he invites someone, a woman, to come into the house because he knows that it's going to irritate you. That's exactly what happened. He acknowledges that.
Nashera Garrett has accused her former friend, Michael Codia, and his girlfriend, Brianna Serrano, of damaging her car and assaulting her.
Now, on the 7th of July, there was some sort of an altercation. You want to tell me what that was?
Yes. So that evening, I went into the house, and he had his witness, Darius, there. And
this person?
Yes. And me and Michael had conversations about him before, and I just thought it wasn't a good influence. So that evening, I walked in the house, and I'm sorry, let me back that up. I asked Michael if he's gonna have men come in the house, could he please be there while I'm there with them? Because I didn't feel comfortable. He said yes. So when I walked in that evening and saw Darius there, I texted Michael and said, Michael, we need to have another talk, because every talk we have, I'm thinking that we're having understandings, but we're not. So, and Darius set up a whole twin-size bed up in the living room. So I went out to my car. I said, Michael, when you get home, I'm in my car, so meet me in my car when you get off. It was around 8:30 when Michael had came, and I was sitting in my car. Me and Michael were talking, and...
Was he in your car with you?
No. He was outside of my driver's side. So that's when Miss Brianna came, and she started hitting him upside his head, and I tried to get out of the spot that I was in, and next thing I know, my window's down, and she comes and she's attacking me, punching me in my face. She keyed up my car. When she first came up to my window, she keyed my car. Yeah, I can show you.
What? Okay, did you file a police report?
I didn't.
Why?
I just didn't. I took care of my bruises and my scar. I did call 911, but then I hung up. I just didn't. And
Okay. Do you have photographs of your injury?
Yes. There you go.
So what you're telling me is that this was a scratch across your chest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a scratch that was caused by Miss Serrano.
Yes.
And that was in July.
Yes.
Ms. Serrano, I'd like to hear your version of what happened on the 7th of July.
Like I said before, there was just an argument that took place.
That was
nothing
I want you to
physical.
start the argument
beginning?
from the beginning.
Okay.
Okay. She's outside in her car.
Mhm.
Michael is talking to her at the car.
Oh, yeah.
Did you drive over there or did you walk? How did you get
I
there?
parked my car like in front of the house because they were on the side street. So I walked.
So you walked there?
Exactly.
You parked
yes,
the
I
car. Now, let me ask you a couple of questions, Ms. Serrano. Did Mr. Codia ever give you an indication that Miss Garrett was no longer going to be living there?
Not that I could recall, no.
Well, I want you to
was
try
told
to recall.
I was told after that whole day went, the day after that, the conversation was going to be for her to leave the house.
Okay. And what were you coming over for? What brought you over there at 8 o'clock at night?
For him.
What do you mean for him?
Well, he left something in my car. He left a charger or something. It was something he left in my car that I was returning back to him.
Did you tell him you were coming over?
Nope. I just popped up.
The answer is no.
No.
You were curious.
Yes, I was. Of course I was.
There you were.
Mm-hmm.
See what's happening to him? This fly is getting vengeance
Crazy.
on him.
That's getting on me too.
What the hell's going on? Oh, you got a swapper too, wow.
I'm waiting for it to
waiting.
come over here. Did you seek medical treatment?
I did not.
Mr. Cody, I'm going to wrap up this case because I really understand it. I believe I understand it. What I don't understand is why, and this doesn't require an answer, it's sort of a rhetorical question, why you would want to take someone who had been a lifelong friend and someone with whom you are having a child and put either one or both of them in a situation they don't know each other really, so they don't know whether to like each other or whether not to like each other. I mean, I assume that at this point you would, at least Miss Serrano was planning a long-term relationship with you, and she's having a child, and I assume she thinks you're going to be there to be supportive of the child. Maybe. You have other children?
Yes, I do.
How many children do you have?
I have another son.
Okay, how old?
5 years old, 5.
And he lives with his mother?
Yes, he does.
So you see.
Oh, yes. There you go.
This one's a pesky one. I'm usually good at it. I missed it before. I don't know why you would put them in a situation where they would dislike each other all to satisfy your ego.
Wow.
Oh, that's exactly what you did. You put them in a position where two apparently nice ladies, both of whom care about you in different ways, you put them, well, do you care about him?
Yes.
You think she cares about him?
I've never, the entire time I was with
They just know each other for a long time.
It was way before me, so I guess if you would have put it like that.
And they also went to senior prom together.
Just a second.
Wow, like
I didn't ask you.
I'm
listen
sorry,
to me.
Your Honor.
I didn't ask you anything. This is not a shout out. What I'm telling you is it goes to his character. He knows her for a long time. They never had a romantic relationship. With you, he's had a romantic relationship. You did something that annoyed him. You went back to take care of your sick mother, which also attests to his bad character. And then what he does is he invites a woman to come into the house, lets you know about it, because he knows that it's going to irritate you. That's exactly what happened. He acknowledges that. That doesn't make him a good guy. So I want you to think about that. But I absolutely believe that you caused a scratch on her, which you can't do. Anyway, Mr. Cody, you owe her $750. And Ms. Serrano, you can't put your hands on anybody, no matter how angry you are at them. And I'm awarding her $1,000 for you putting your hands on her. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I was very satisfied.
I mean, I know it would cause havoc, but
Different women every night,
I try to keep it in secret.
and that's why we stopped being friends before, but I definitely learned my lesson.
I feel like it's unfortunate. I feel like she manipulated the whole situation.
The friendship is over.
I'm just gonna be a father to my child, man.
After working with you now for almost a year, I'm starting to get so jaded from these cases that I'm starting to think that just staying single might be my best option if these are the alternatives. Yeah. Just blows my mind. He admitted to just pitting an old friend and your fiance, who's pregnant with your child, against each other.
To satisfy your ego.
Yes. Sounds like a terrible idea, was a terrible idea, turned out to be a terrible idea, and it'll land you in court on occasion.
You're right, but rethink that staying single.
Sister, Brandy Maida, for property damage, harassment, and lost work.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone, please. Hello, Ken.
Case number 2006, Nelson versus Mata.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Nelson, this is your sister.
Yes.
How old are you?
I am 42. 43, almost 44.
Oh, so are you the only two sisters?
We have some half-sisters, but yes.
But you're the only two full biological sisters. Now, there came a time, Miss Maida, that you moved into your sister's home.
Yes.
Is this a home that you own?
Yes, we built it.
In what year did you move into her home?
That would have been 2018.
Who else lives in the house from your family?
My disabled mother, my husband, and my child.
So your mother lives there?
Yes, I take care of my mom.
Tell me why you moved into your sister's basement, Miss Maida.
In 2015, my oldest son was in a tornado and suffered a severe brain injury. So when my sister Tiffany and her husband were looking for new houses, they offered to build an apartment in their basement so that we could live with them and get out of our mobile home. So when they built this house, it was built with the intention of us living in the basement.
Is that correct?
Yes, but for a year, because I do take care of my disabled mother, and the intention was for her to be in the basement eventually so that she doesn't have to use stairs.
Was the original agreement with your sister that it would not be a permanent move, but one that would last for about a year?
It was agreed that it was not a permanent. There was not a date set, though.
Okay, but it was agreed it was not a permanent, and you did not have a written lease?
Yes, we did. We do have a lease.
You did? I'd like to see it.
We had a month-to-month lease that I have as well. This is the current lease that subsides the other lease.
Okay, initially a month-to-month lease, and what month and year did you have her sign?
I have it right here. It's dated July 14th, 2018.
So this is a 6-month lease that ended January 31st?
Correct.
The rent was $800 a month?
Yes.
So this last lease was for your sister, her husband, and 2 children?
Correct.
I only ask that question because if my reading of your complaint was correct, you say that she moved her husband in without your consent.
So when we first agreed to let her move in 2018, she was divorcing, and the agreement was that her and her 2 sons could move into the home. He had nowhere to go, and she wanted him to move in. So because
in what year was that?
That was still 2018.
So that was still 2018?
Yeah, so we let, let him live there.
And since then, you signed different leases with her, with him on the property?
Correct.
Okay, so then you acquiesced to it. When you were in the apartment, Did you have pets?
I did,
How many pets did you have?
4 dogs. But then subsequently, some had passed away, so at the end, we only had 2 dogs.
Okay, well, at the signing of this lease, you had 6 pets, consisting of cats, dogs, and no other pets being allowed.
Correct.
And you agreed, regardless of ownership of the pets, agreed to restore the property to its original condition at your expense when you leave. Okay, good, because that's also part of what this is about, actually, most of what this is about.
Your Honor, they had 3 pets upon move out. They had just gotten a puppy, so they did have 3 pets and 2 cats upon move out.
Doesn't matter. Anybody who has 6 pets, after 3 years, the carpet needs to be replaced.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, your sister began to move out when? In what month?
She moved out on the 1st of February, 2022.
Pursuant to your agreement?
Correct.
And it is your claim that she left the premises in condition that required you to spend close to $10,000 to put it back into shape?
$6,500.
Okay.
For the basement damages.
I'd like to see photographs of what it looked like because we know it was brand new when you moved in because the house was just
Those
built.
Are all...
So we know that it's new.
I also have photographs that I took the day we moved out.
Okay. I'm going to give you these and then I'm going to look at yours.
Okay.
Okay, so there's no question you have to replace the carpeting.
Right.
You understand that. Did you replace the carpeting?
No, I had not had any contact from her.
Do you have a bill for the carpeting?
I replaced 1 room already, and I have that, and then I have the estimate to replace the other carpet.
Okay, I'll take a look at that. And that's the main thing that I see in the apartment that has to be done from these photographs. Okay, did you leave a lot of food in the refrigerator and all kinds of stuff in the refrigerator?
No, so what happened was the refrigerator...
Just the answer is either yes or no. Did you leave a whole lot of stuff in the refrigerator?
No.
Anything in the freezer?
No, there was no freezer.
And cabinets, did you leave anything in the I'm just looking because there's a picture here of a whole bunch of food.
Right. I hadn't finished moving out.
My question,
but yes, there was
my question is, you were supposed to be out by February 1st. On February 1st, was there food in the house?
Yes.
Okay, and it should have been moved. Whether you moved out yet or not, you were supposed to be out by February 1st. Okay, I'd like to see those. So you replaced the carpet in what room?
One of the bedrooms, so my mom could move down there so she could not use stairs.
Okay. Sarah, add these 2 figures and have them for me, please. And I don't know what this is a photograph of.
So the bags that were left in the home, there was ice cream that was left in those bags, and it had leaked on my flooring, and we moved it outside. And that is the rotted food from the bags.
Okay, do you know how that happened?
I don't. I haven't seen that.
Okay. May I see photographs, please, that you took on the day you moved out?
Yes.
I have that total, Judge. $4,129.
4,121?
29.
29.
And 21 cents.
Thank you. Is this after the carpet was taken out?
Yes.
Kevin, can I please see the photographs that she took? Actually, they're pretty much the same. Not terrible. A lot of it is ordinary wear and tear, except for the carpet. So that's $4,129. The only other thing that I'm questioning is that I saw these rocks. And I want somebody to explain these rocks to me.
So because of the water level, if you go out the downstairs patio, there's rocks there to prevent the yard from sliding.
Getting wet.
So some of the rocks were moved. They're supposed to all go in a line, and they go down and over. So we have to pay a landscaper to come out and basically redo that.
Well, how did that happen? Do you know?
They're pretty heavy rocks, so...
I don't know. Do you know? Did you move the rocks?
No, you would need like a skid loader to move those rocks. There's no physical way to move those.
Where do you live?
With one person.
I live in far west Utah, farm country.
Looks like there's water comes down through here.
Yes, we live across the street from a pond as well.
Well, you don't know how that happens. Now, you have, in addition to your claim, which is for damage, you feel it's necessary to go into these allegations of harassment by your sister?
I honestly just want to be done with her and not get threatening text messages and stuff on social media.
No chance of a reconciliation.
Not
lived
on my
together
end.
for a while.
I've blocked her from
For a long time.
Yeah.
Miss Mehta, your sister was there at a time when you needed her.
Yes.
You think that there's any potential for the two of you to sort of restore some kind of working relationship? Are you the only two?
No. This
No.
is the funeral of our relationship.
All right, not my job. That's a job for another professional. Okay, you have a counterclaim.
Yes.
And your counterclaim, just as she's not going into harassment, I'm not going into anything that involves the harassment. It is your claim that you left certain furniture behind. Well, why wasn't your furniture out on the 1st? Your lease expired at the end of the month in January.
It did. And I did let them know that I was not done.
Well, that's not a reason. That's not a reason to break your contract. Only 2 people can break a contract, Ms. Mehta. The 2 people are the same 2 people that signed it. You signed a contract that said you would be out on a certain date. You weren't out on a certain date. The fact that you notified her that you're changing the terms of the contract unless she agreed to it, then you should have had your stuff out by the 31st. Why didn't you?
Because she had made it very difficult during my moving process. There was a lot of, like I said, harassment and stuff that happened during that moving process. She called the police on the people that were helping me. She made it very difficult to get it done. There was no way that I could get it done on
Let's
that
get
day.
back to call the police.
And later today,
After Mr. Martinez got into the picture, he was going to pay me not to talk to Sherry any longer.
So you had a discussion with him that all of her bills he was going to take care of?
Many discussions, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and?
I never got a dime.
Okay, well, what is the harassment?
Tiffany Nelson claims her sister, Brandy Mehta, owes for property damage after living in her basement. Brandy is countersuing for the return of her belongings.
Who did you have moving you?
I had my best friend, Brittany, was helping me.
Does Brittany and your sister have any negative history?
They do.
Okay. Well, if they have any negative history, why would you have her come into the house?
Because she doesn't have any access to Tiffany at that point. There was no reason for them to talk. They wouldn't be even associating.
You know, if I knew that there were issues between my landlord and a particular person, especially if my landlord was my sister who let me move into her house, just from a question of using my brain, I wouldn't bring somebody that had been on the outs with them. If they didn't like them, that's one thing. You know, I'm really not crazy about your friend Brittany. That's one thing. But if you knew that there was an active, aggressive feeling against one or the other, should have had somebody else move. So why didn't you get your stuff out?
Well, so I didn't think that it was as serious as that. They are related.
If they're related and don't like each other, or the plaintiff doesn't like her, then that's even worse. Go ahead.
Yeah, so she was my only help. I didn't have anybody to help me at that time. So.
Then start doing it sooner. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was the
Miss
only
Mehta,
reason.
Miss Mehta, where was your husband?
He was working. We were working during this whole time.
Well, that's okay. I've moved and worked. I used to move every time I needed a paint job. I would pack up and move, and I constantly worked. I've worked for 58 years. So that's not a reason. You pack in the evening. You go down after work, you get newspaper from the grocery store, and you get old cartons, and you wrap up the dishes and the cartons, and you manage to get out when you're supposed to get out. And she's not the only one who can help you. Maybe your husband has friends. If he doesn't have friends, I don't know why not. In any event, that was not a smart thing for you to bring your witness. Furniture. What furniture did you leave?
I left patio set on the patio. It was all outside furniture.
Patio set. Just a second.
A lawnmower.
Okay.
Outside bench that had storage and stuff.
Yeah.
Fire pit and lawn chairs.
Okay. And when did you buy the lawn chairs?
It would have been 2018.
Okay. And how much did you pay for each one?
They were $245 for the chaise lounges and $159 for the pool dining chairs.
Okay. Are those chairs at your home?
Yes.
May I see them?
Yes. There's 4 lawn chairs. There was never the long chair.
Let me see what's in the home.
I also had a cooler.
Just a second. Don't bother me about a cooler. Are the lawn chairs still there?
Yes.
Great. You can go get them.
Okay.
With a marshal, not with her. What about the fire pit?
Still there.
You can pick up the fire pit. What about the lawnmower?
Still there.
Patio set?
Still there.
They have painted that purple.
Painted back. Where are you living now?
I have a house.
Who are you living there with?
With my husband and my sister-in-law.
She's living with you? She's paying, not an answer, yes.
Yes.
She's paying you rent?
No.
Why not?
My husband's mother, their mother passed away, and she needed to be closer to family, so she's just living with us as family.
Okay, you're going to get all the property back that you say you left there. And you can do that within 5 days on notice to the plaintiff with a marshal. Just give him a copy of the order that will give you inside.
Okay.
With regard to the renovation of the house, she has to put the house in reasonable condition. Most of these other pictures demonstrate some wear and tear that you would have to do. Painting and plastering after 3.5 years, but the carpeting had to be replaced, $4,129. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
I'm happy with her decision. I just wanted to fix my basement and move on with my life.
I mean, it is what it is. There's nothing to do. You know, I think we were both at fault.
Go back home, fix my house, and honestly have nothing to do with her again.
If she had come and talked to me like a normal person, we could have figured this out without this.
No, I'm completely done.
I would like to not be inappropriate, but she's just not a good person.
You know, I think that the two sisters had the best of intentions. Didn't you get that feeling?
I did. From moving in and knowing you have a designated place at a time of need, that she was going to design the basement for you to live in, although not permanently. I thought it was going to go in a good direction.
And I'm sure that the plaintiff's mother, who lives with her, is sad that she doesn't get to see her other daughter probably as frequently as she would like, because they lived together in the same home, evidently, for a very long time.
Yeah.
Very bad. There's always collateral damage when people don't get along.
True.
Case number 2039, Mormon versus Strauss. All parties, please step forward.
Derek Mormon is suing his former friend, Sherry Strauss, for car repairs and harassment.
Mr. Mormon, the defendant was a friend of yours.
Yes, ma'am.
A casual friend, a romantic friend?
Maybe both, you know, a casual romantic friend.
How long do you know her?
14 years at least, probably closer to 15, yeah.
Were you ever together as a couple?
No, ma'am.
And it is your claim that because she was in financial trouble, you extended a loan to her to fix her car.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what this case is about. You also say she harassed you, but most of this case is about the loans to fix her car. Ms. Strauss says that you did, in fact, work on her car, but you caused more damage to it than it originally had, and she is counterclaiming for car repairs that she has to make because of work that you did on the car. Who is this person?
My fiance.
Okay, he's not a mechanic.
No.
And who is the woman?
She is the property manager of the motel that I'm living in.
So you don't have a mechanic to testify today to anything?
No, I do have.
The answer is no.
No, but I do have an estimate.
I don't care about an estimate. Okay, so I would like you to tell me, Ms. Strauss, when did you start to have trouble with your car?
March 2nd of 2022.
And where were you living at the time?
I had just moved into the motel.
Had you been spending any time with Mr. Mormon?
Previous to that, no.
Previous to March of 2022?
That's correct.
After March of 2022, did you spend any time with Mr. Mormon?
I did, yes.
Did you stay at his home?
I went there occasionally, yes.
No, but I'm asking, did you stay over at his home?
Yes.
Okay. And when you started to have trouble with the car in March, when you hadn't been staying at Mr. Mormon's house, did you call him and let him know you were having trouble with your car?
I did as a friend, yes.
And what did you say to him, and what did he say to you?
I just told him I dropped my son off at his taekwondo, and we were trying to leave, and my car was not working.
And what did he say to you?
That he will come and help me.
And help you?
Yeah.
That was on March 2nd?
That was on March 2nd, yes.
And did he come to the motel where you were staying?
No, he did not.
Well, how did he come and help you with the car?
Because my car was at my son's taekwondo, so he went there.
He came to where you were? And did he take your car someplace?
Not on that day, no.
What did he do on that day?
On that day, he took me and my son home.
So that was March 2nd. Keep going. March 2nd, March 3rd.
And then on March 3rd, we ended up having my car taken over to O'Reilly's. Well, we got a battery.
How much was it?
It was $167.
Who paid for it?
I did.
So then you were driving it again? It's not,
Yes, correct.
Okay. And when was the next time there was difficulty with the car?
Then the next time was March 7th. It died again.
So on March 7th, the car died again? And what did you do?
Then on March 7th, I called him and told him that something's wrong with my car again. Now it's not starting again.
Okay. And tell me why you called him.
Because as a good friend, like I said, we've been friends for 15 years. As it is, I don't ask anybody for help. I usually try to do everything on my own. But,
Okay, so you called him and said the car died again?
Yep, but he had made it known that he was knowledgeable about cars, so I figured that maybe he would know what was going on.
You know who else is knowledgeable? Mechanics. You want to tell me what the additional harassment is?
He showed up at my motel threatening.
What did he want?
When I had talked to him before, when he thought that David and I was not together anymore, he said, oh, it's not about the money. He goes, I just want you.
Derek Mormon says his former friend Sherry Strauss owes for car repairs. Sherry is countersuing, claiming Derek damaged her car, trying to fix it.
Okay, so on the 7th, you called him again and said, I'm having trouble. What did he do?
Then on the 7th, I had to go to work, so I had another friend take me to work. He came and picked me up from work, and we took my car back over to O'Reilly's, took the battery out, had them test it. The battery had been drained. Figured it was the alternator, got the alternator. He put the alternator in.
Who paid for all of these repairs? That's what it's about.
I paid for them.
So what is he suing for?
Because later on, my brakes and rotors went out and I got a flat tire. So at that time, yes, I did call him and let him know.
On what date was that?
That was on April 16th of 2022.
Okay. Well, right now it's gone on the fritz on the 2nd, the 7th, and April 16th. So that's a lot of aggravation. So on April 16th fiasco with the car and the repairs, how much was that?
$234.
Who paid for that?
He said that he would pay for it. He originally told me that his mechanic would allow me to make payments. And when we went to go pick it up on April 22nd, found out that that was not the case.
Okay, so he wasn't going to allow you to make payments,
No.
which mechanics usually don't. So how much was the bill?
So the bill was $567.91.
And he paid for that because they wouldn't let you make payments?
He paid for that because he knew I was...
No,
gonna have
not
to
he
buy.
knew. You were originally going to pay for that and make payments.
Yeah, I was gonna,
Just a
make
second.
payments.
You were originally going to pay for it and make payments. You found out that you couldn't make payments, so he said, fine, I will make the full payment to the mechanic.
Yeah.
But it was always your intention to pay for the repairs of the car, only you wanted to pay for it in a slower fashion.
Right, I was going to make the payments to the mechanic, yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, did you pay him back any of the $567?
I gave him $300 to help him with rent, but
Just a second. Tell me when you gave him $300 for rent.
I gave him the $300 on April 29th.
That was after you picked up the car. Is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she give you $300 for rent?
No, Your Honor, I don't need anybody to help me pay my rent.
Do you have any proof that you gave him $300 for rent, a withdrawal from a bank or anything?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Okay, so far you owe $567. Is that what you paid for her in April?
No, Your Honor, I paid $674.76.
May I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, April 18th. $674. Would you show this to Ms. Strauss? Okay. Mr. Mormon?
Yes, Your Honor.
There subsequently came a time, which I think probably was a more social issue than anything else, when the defendant advised...
I have a different one that shows
May I
the receipt right there.
May I see it?
The $567.91.
Well, I actually am not understanding this. He paid for this with his Visa card. Is that right?
That's correct.
Could you explain this to me? This is your Visa card. This is the same invoice. One of them is for $567.91, and the one that you gave me, the same invoice number, is $674.76. Sarah, would you do me a favor, please?
Sure.
Would you add up?
From both or just the top one?
Well, let's start with just the top one, for which there is a Visa receipt. So I gather that all this became problematic when you started to see a serious boyfriend. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, after March, you said you stayed occasionally at Mr. Mormon's. When you stayed at Mr. Mormon's, was that more of a social? I mean, was it a more intimate relationship than just social friends? This was after March, after you were in the motel.
We were kind of like friends with, benefits in a way, so
Okay.
yeah.
All right, and then you found someone new, and according to him, you advised him that you had somebody new, and now he wants the money for the car, which you were going to pay anyway. You were going to
Originally,
pay
I
it.
figured it was a friend helping a friend. I didn't
No,
think of
it
it as a
wasn't.
loan.
No. It wasn't. Even you say, Ms. Strauss, it was your intention to pay this bill for your car as you would pay the other bills for your car. However, when you got there, you found you couldn't make time payments. So he said, well, you need a car. I'll lay it out up front. But it was always your intention to pay for your own car. Do we have a...
That is the correct number. And then at the bottom, that totals. And then the additional to bring you to 567 is the tax.
Okay. Now, so the next part of your case is about harassment. By whom and for what?
Your Honor, after Mr. Martinez got into the picture.
That's this gentleman.
Yes, ma'am. He was a man of his word, and he was going to pay me not to talk to Sherry any longer, which I didn't.
Okay, so you had a discussion with him that all of her bills he was going to take care of?
Many discussions, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And?
I never got a dime.
Okay, well, what is the harassment?
Text messages, my witness here, Ms. Montoya.
No, just a second.
Okay.
Text messages what?
Just saying, hey, leave her alone, which is fine.
Okay, that's all right. That's not harassment.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, fine.
But it was, hey, I'm going to pay you. I'm a man of my word.
Okay, well, that you're not
Where's my
suing him,
money?
so who cares about that?
Yeah.
She owes you $567. That's what you put on your visa. Now, let's get to your money owed for car repairs and harassment. Okay. Now, you don't have a mechanic here, so what your claim is that whatever he did to the car, he didn't do well, so you had to take the car, or you're going to have to take the car to another mechanic. I don't care. You would plan to fix this car yourself. The problem was with payments. If you had to make additional repairs to the car, that's not his problem. Okay, now you want to tell me what the additional harassment is?
Well, that's why I have my two witnesses here. He spent a lot of time calling me names. He's called my fiance names. He showed up at my motel threatening and stuff like that. So
What did he want?
he wanted his money, but at one point in time-
Now he's got it. I don't need to speak to you.
No, but
Now he's got his money.
When I had talked to him before, when he thought that David and I was not together anymore, he said, oh, it's not about the money. He goes, I just want you. He's got several messages from me, how he loves me, he wants to be with me, and all this and that.
Yeah, but you don't love him and you don't want to be with him, so now you have to pay him for your car repairs, $567.
Yeah.
Judgment for the plaintiff.
Well-
We're finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
Hey, justice was served, and that's all that matters.
It was about because he didn't have me. I went with somebody else, and I wasn't with him.
She was a friend, and I tried to help her out.
We've been friends for a long time, so I told him we would be, that I wanted to be his friend.
I ain't going to help, I can tell you that.
I want to continue the friendship, and he didn't want that.
No, never again on her, no.
Time to find another mechanic.
So I really didn't have so much trouble with that case because the defendant had really planned on paying for her car repairs. Do I think that the guy said to her, you can make payments, and when she got there, he said, no, who knows? It's not worth it.
Yeah.
He felt used.
Which I think is valid.
Which, give somebody money, and then you've had sort of a friends with benefits relationship, and all of a sudden you got somebody new, and you're driving around in a car that you paid to repair. Anyway, it was simple and easy.
It was.
Ryan Davis is suing his former landlord, Alex Zadie, for a false arrest and bail money.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2027, Davis versus Zadie.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, a couple of years ago, you were a tenant of the defendant's.
Correct, Your Honor.
You rented a room from him?
Correct, Your
in
Honor.
his house. For how long?
For about a year, a little over.
From when to when?
2020, I want to say the beginning of the year till about the end.
Do you remember the dates that he was a tenant?
Yes, they're incorrect what he's saying. It was from May of 2020 to November 2020.
Does that sound right, Mr. Davis?
Something like that, yeah.
May, June, July, August, September, October, and when in November did he leave?
I believe it was by the 10th.
This is what your case is about. Briefly, it is your claim that you and Mr. Zadie had some sort of an argument.
Correct.
Which you'll tell me about. And Mr. Zadie called the police. You were taken from the premises. You were arrested, spent the night in jail, mailed yourself out. And this happened in 2020.
Correct.
In November of 2020. Your lawsuit is for false arrest and actual damages. You had to post bail and for filing a false police report. The reason that you have delayed for 2 years in bringing this case against him is because you say you had another action pending.
Correct, Your Honor.
What was the nature of the other action that you had pending?
It was a speeding issue with the police.
Well, it's not a speeding issue with the police. Were you stopped for speeding? Were you arrested for speeding?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
You were arrested for speeding?
Yeah, and they called it a 2800 VC, if my memory serves me correct.
Well, I don't know what that is.
It's, I guess, evading.
Look into it.
In what city and state do you live?
Irvine, California.
Let me understand this. Very few people are arrested for speeding. You remember what you were arrested for, sir? You weren't arrested for speeding.
They called it evading an officer because I didn't pull over right away.
So you were evading an officer. Let's try that, Sarah.
Evading a police officer in a vehicle. It's vehicle code 2800-1.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, what does it say?
Prohibits evading an officer in a vehicle, which means willfully fleeing from a police officer when the officer is pursuing the person in a car or on a bike. The offense is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 1 year in jail.
Okay, so you had a misdemeanor pending, right? Anything else?
No, that was it.
Anything else historically?
Yes, I did have historical priors and cases and stuff from my past. Yes, I did.
Recent past or distant past?
Distant past.
How distant?
Years. I want to say 2004.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't have to go into 2004. So you had this case pending and you felt that it was inappropriate to bring a civil case against him.
Yeah, because I didn't want the cases to intertwine, Your Honor.
They weren't going to intertwine. The case that he brought against you was eventually dismissed.
Correct.
In what month and year was it dismissed?
It was dismissed the same month, about 2 weeks after that.
Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. So let me understand this. He alleged that you assaulted him or threatened him. You were taken into custody. The DA examined the case and decided not to prosecute it.
Correct.
And that was 2 years ago.
Correct.
Well, I don't know who gave you advice, sir, or whether you did this on your own, but bringing a civil case against someone for something has no impact whatsoever on a pending criminal case, be it a felony or a misdemeanor. You know, if you were driving in a car and someone hit you in the rear in November of 2020, and you waited 2 years to bring that because you had this evading a police officer action and you thought that that was a valid reason, your case would be dismissed for the hit in the rear and whatever injuries you had, because you're supposed to bring these things in a timely fashion.
I understand.
2 years is not a timely fashion. Now that I've suggested that to you, I would like to hear what you say transpired in November 2020, to the best of your recollection.
On November the 9th, 2020, me and my former landlord, Alex Aditi over here, we had an argument about a guest that I had over.
Okay. You had an argument over the phone or in person?
Over the phone.
Tell me how that phone call was initiated.
He texted me some things, and I called him because I wanted to...
Okay. He texted you. Do you have a copy of that text?
No, I don't have the text.
Do you recall what that text said?
Yes, I do.
Tell me what it said.
I told him that he has to get his girlfriend out of the house because she's been coming in every day and night, staying there.
Okay. So you said, in effect, I rented you this room, not your girlfriend.
Correct.
You got to get her out of the house.
Yes.
Okay.
I had
you remember her name?
To him
just a second. You remember her name?
Not.
What was her name?
Tawana.
Now, when you rented the room in May, just a second. When you rented the room in May and you moved in, did Tawana move in with you?
She did not move in with me.
So when you rented the room for yourself in May, you rented the room as a single person?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And when did you bring Tawana into the room?
It would be once in a while.
No. What month, sir?
I don't recall the exact month.
What month, sir?
It started happening like back in August, every day. It started one day, then every other day, and then it became constant day and night.
For how long?
For a long, long time, till towards the November when it just went out of proportion.
The argument was about having his girlfriend, according to you, practically living there.
Right.
And you didn't want her there?
No.
Okay, because you rented a room to a single man who, until the girlfriend started to come in, I assume you didn't have trouble with.
Right.
So that's what your text message said to him in November. And as a result of that text message, you called him on the phone. I'm just trying to lay out the story.
Okay.
So you called him on the phone and you said what to him and he said what to you?
I don't recall exactly what I said to him, but I remember he told me to tell her, get the out, get out my house, get the out right now. Your girlfriend is a. He was saying a bunch of derogatory things over the phone to me, and then hung up in my face. I'm working at the time, so when I came back.
Did you call your girlfriend?
No, I didn't call her.
Did you text her?
We speak regularly. We're talking all
No,
the time.
then.
Yeah, she knew about it. She did.
Don't tell me what she knew. I just asked you if you texted her or called her.
Yeah, I did.
You did. And when you texted or called her, was she in the house? Was she in your room?
No, she was gone already at this time. When we were arguing,
just
she was.
Just a second. Is that because he told her to leave?
No, she was leaving already. She had work to go to. She wasn't living there. She had her own place and job in Lakewood, California. And I would tell him that all the time, but he would always insinuate that, oh, no, she's living there. I'm like, no, she's not. She pays $2,000 in rent.
He lives in the house with you.
Right.
Now, before Tawana, had you had any difficulty with him? You
None
moved
at
in
all.
May. May, did you have any difficulty? No.
No.
June, did you have any difficulty?
No.
July, did you have any difficulty?
No.
No. You didn't have difficulty until Tawana came.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
So he told you in a very rude way, if I accept that, to get Tawana out of his house.
Correct, Your Honor.
Then you came home from work.
Mm-hmm.
What time did you get home from work?
About 9-ish.
And Tawana was gone.
Yes, she was gone.
Had she taken her things?
There was nothing for her to take. She didn't bring stuff over there. She wasn't living there.
No, but she came over there and stayed a few days a week and never
Maybe
had any
an
stuff.
overnight bag.
Okay,
That's
but
it.
she took
Yeah.
it with her when she
Yeah,
left.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got home about 9 o'clock, and what happened?
I got home at 9 and I said, don't disrespect me and my woman. You know, this is the woman I
Okay.
love.
When you got home, you walked in the front door. Where was he?
He was in the kitchen and he had a female guest there too. That was
He's
there
allowed
for
to have a
weeks.
female guest. It's his house.
Yeah, right. The pot calling the kettle black, basically.
No,
Hypocrisy.
Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis, if you rent a room to a single guy, did you have a lease agreement with him?
Yeah, I did have a lease agreement.
Did you have a written lease?
Yes, I did.
Did your written lease provide that you were going to live there?
Yes, it did.
Just you?
Yes.
Well, you bring in another person, that's in violation of the lease.
That's not in violation of the lease because there was nothing in the lease that said I couldn't have guests. He actually said I could have guests.
Guest is one thing. A guest is somebody that doesn't come with an overnight bag regularly.
No, he said
one
I
day,
could have an overnight
2
guest.
days, 3 days, 4 days. That's more than an occasional guest. That's somebody that comes and goes even when you're not there. Because according to you, you contacted Tawana while you were at work and she was at the house.
That's false.
Well, I thought you contacted her and then you said she left. She took a few things with her, probably just an overnight bag.
No, she was not going there when I wasn't there. That's false.
Are you saying that she was not in your room when you were not home?
When I was not there, no,
Yeah.
she would not be there.
That true?
No, he had made a key to her. She would come as she pleased.
Did you make her a
That's
key?
false. That's absolutely false.
Did you make her a key?
No, that's
is my
absolutely
question.
false. No, I
Do you
didn't make her
still
a key.
speak to Tawana?
No, I don't. We kind of fell out of touch.
If I were to call Tawana and ask her whether or not you made a key, would she tell me she did or she didn't?
She would say that I didn't.
Didn't.
Yeah.
Phone number.
I have it in my spirit.
I don't have her number saved here.
I'm not exactly buying the fact that Tawana did not have access to the home even when you weren't there, even if it was just a half hour before you came home from work, sir. You work until 9 o'clock every night?
Your Honor, I had this to say about the whole key situation. I gave her my key when I was locked up in jail from his false police report. I gave her my property, and she had my key then to help me get the stuff out of his home. But I never went and made her a copy of a key
Did she
anywhere.
ever use your key other than when you were incarcerated?
No.
He says she did.
I said, you're a bitch. I called him a bitch. I did.
He's a guy. Why would you call him a...
It's gender neutral at this point.
You think that that's gender neutral?
Yeah, at this
Okay,
point.
Well, there you go. That's why I have you here.
Ryan Davis claims his former landlord, Alex Zadie, owes for bail money after Alex had him falsely arrested.
Okay, so now you're having this discussion. He's in the kitchen. You come home from work at 9 o'clock, and
Yeah.
you went into the kitchen to look for him.
Correct.
And when you found him, tell me what happened.
We had just a brief, maybe 2-minute conversation or argument, discourse about what the things that he said. And I said, you know, don't be disrespectful to my woman and me. And I said, you know, you're a bitch. I called him a bitch. I did. But I never threatened him,
No, you
harassed
said
him.
you're what?
That's it.
What does that mean? That's a half a sentence.
Well,
He was calling him a bitch. You are a bitch.
Oh, you were calling him?
yes, because he says
a
these
guy.
things over the phone.
He's a guy. Why would
Yeah.
you call him a...
Because he says all these things over the phone and he gets real loud and he's a completely different person when he's on the phone than when I'm in
You
his...
think that's gender neutral?
Yeah, at this point.
Well, there you go. That's why I have you here. Okie dokie.
So,
okay, so you were going, don't call me that. You called him a name, and then things got heated, and then what happened?
no, things didn't get heated. After that, he said, oh, that's how you want to do it? And then I said, if you want to get me evicted, you have to go through it the right way and do it legally and give me a 30-day eviction.
No, he must have said to you, I want you out of here because you called me a name.
It
If
wasn't
you said, if
about-
you want me evicted, then he had to have said something about getting you out.
He didn't really see, I don't remember him mentioning anything about me getting out. I just remember the fact that he called the police to get
No,
me
before
out.
he called the police. You were still in the kitchen. Do you ever leave the kitchen?
Yes, I did.
Where did you go?
I went to my room.
Okay. Before you went to your room, did you hear him on the phone with the police?
I did.
Before you went to
Yes.
your room?
Yes.
Okay. And?
And I didn't sit there and listen to his phone call. I took a video and I started recording because I didn't want to be made out to look like the guilty party. And I had it pretty much live streaming the whole time, which was an Instagram video.
Can
to
I see it?
prove, No, I don't have the video. The
But
police
then it
deleted
doesn't
it.
exist. If you
Yeah.
don't have it, it doesn't
Yeah,
exist for
understand.
my purpose.
Understood.
But you had it then.
Yeah, I did have it then.
You did. And the police came,
Yes.
and I assume if the police came, you showed them the video.
Yeah, I was showing it to him.
And despite showing them the video, they took you into custody.
Despite showing them the video, they
Just a
took me into
second.
custody.
Despite looking at the video,
Yes.
which I haven't
They
seen.
didn't look at the video. They refused to look at it.
Well, let's go one step further. You see, Mr. Davis, this is why you bring actions right away, so that not only everybody's memory is fresh, but if I wanted to call a police officer
where you're
who
coming.
responded or whatever, that's why you bring an action right away.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So now you're taken into custody and you have a video that is totally, according to you, exculpatory.
I don't know the definition.
Exculpatory means it says that you were not guilty of anything.
Okay.
And you appear in court?
No, I didn't appear in court.
Never?
No, never.
Well, what happened to the case?
The case was thrown out. It was a DA reject because there was insufficient evidence that I did anything to him.
And you never showed the district attorney your video?
I didn't get a chance to because the video was deleted by the police.
The police department deleted your video?
Yeah, they did.
You are a terrible victim of circumstance, Mr. Davis. Did you ever make a complaint that the police department deleted your video that would be exculpatory?
No.
Why not? I would if I had.
Maybe ignorance of the law, I guess.
What?
I said maybe ignorance of the law, I guess. Not knowing. When you know better, you do better.
No, Mr. Davis. Actually, I mean, sometimes you really don't know what the law is, but you were smart enough, you said, to tell me, because you knew I would say, why wait 2 years, that you didn't want this action to conflict with another action. Well,
Yeah.
that's a two-process thinker.
I've had something like that happen to me before where I had a criminal case and a civil case pending, and the dates were kind of intertwining and messing and then about to get in the way of my civil case. So I didn't want to make that same mistake with this case, Your Honor.
Okay, so you want to tell me what your version of the events were of November 9th of 2020?
Yes, Your Honor. I had gone to Mexico for a business trip meeting, and I had my friend who was visiting from Mexico staying at my place. And at that same time, I had another roommate who was renting the room next to Ryan Davis's room. His name was Dave. I received a call from Dave on November 9 that is constant sex going on.
Okay, so you received a call from the other person living in your house who you were renting a room to.
Right.
Okay, and then, don't tell me what he said. Can't tell me, that's all hearsay.
Well, I've heard prior to all the sexual acts taking place.
Listen to me. You personally,
Yes.
when you were home.
Yes.
Okay, so you heard what was going on behind his closed
Yes.
doors.
Right, day and night.
Okay.
Like there's
Fine.
no tomorrow.
Okay, well, maybe, maybe jealous. Okay.
disrespectful.
Okay, so he was becoming an annoying tenant.
Yes.
For whatever reason.
Yes.
Keep going. You sent him a text. He called you. You had heated words. He comes home from work. You're in the kitchen.
Yes.
He comes into the kitchen and
I told him, Ryan, we've gone through this many times before. I've addressed this to you about your girlfriend coming here all the time, day and night, and now she's here every day. What he was doing was sneaking her in late at night, and that's how I will know that she snuck back in. There were times I came home from work, and she was already there when Ryan wasn't even there, so she had the key, obviously.
Okay, now let's go to November 9th.
November 9th, I confronted him. I said that this is just way too much. My other roommate wants to leave. He cannot take it anymore.
And
then he said, well, she isn't here. And my...
Okay, he said she wasn't here. Keep going.
Then he cussed at my friend who was visiting from Mexico. He said, get this bitch out of here.
That's not true.
Don't interrupt.
And,
okay.
I said, you know, you can talk to her.
Okay, let's go.
Right. Then he went into his room. He came back. He brought a samurai sword with him. And he flashed it at me. I'm going to slice you in half like a butter.
Okay.
You know? What? And I'm like shocked at that time. Don't know what's going on with him because he's just changing character. I'm scared of my life. I'm scared of my guests.
Okay. And then what happened? So
And
he
then
came out
I said, you need to get out of here. You need to move.
And then he went back. He didn't do anything with the sword.
No, he didn't. He went back in the room with the sword. He put it there. Then he came back and he pushed me against the wall. As he was pushing me, I tried to block him by putting my two hands up. And when he pushed me, it bruised. I had a cut on my wrist, but there was a bruise.
Okay.
And
now,
I
at what
said I'm going
point?
to call the police.
Okay, so you called the police when he came back out of his room the second time, this time without the sword. And the police took a report.
Yes.
Do you have that report?
Yes.
I'd
right
like to
here.
see it. Mr. Davis, do you have a copy of the police report or
I
any
have it right
follow-up
here, too,
report?
Your
I'd like to see that too. Mr. Davis, where did you get the sword from?
My girlfriend at the time,
Which girlfriend?
Twana.
When did she get it for you?
She got it during my birthday, for a birthday gift.
When's your birthday?
October 31st.
And this happened on November 9th.
Correct.
Between October 31st and November 9th, did you have occasion to show Mrs. Zaidi prior to November 9th? So
Never,
between
Your Honor.
31st and the 8th, did you show Mr. Zaidi the sword?
Never, Your Honor. He's
Just
a liar.
just a sec. Just answer my question. He was there or not there, according to you?
There.
He was there.
Correct.
Okay, good.
His guest was also there for about 2 weeks.
Just who cares about his guest? He owns the house.
Ryan Davis has accused his former landlord, Alex Zaidi, of causing a false arrest. Alex says Ryan threatened him with a samurai sword.
Okay. October 31st to November 8th. Did you ever show Mr. Zaidi the sword?
No, Your Honor.
No.
No.
Okay. So unless he went into your room,
He went into my room.
unless he went into your room prior to November 9th, there was no way he would have seen the sword.
Correct.
Okay. And when did you go away on this business trip, sir?
On the 9th.
That day?
Yes, in the morning.
And on what day did you first see this sword that was in his room?
On the evening of November 9th.
That was the first time, not his
First,
birthday, not second day, not third day. Okay. Does his room have a lock on it, by the way?
From inside.
From inside. Mr. Davis, were you on probation at the time of this incident for something in Riverside
Yes,
that
Your
involved a fraud?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And that wasn't a fraud dating back to 2004?
It was dating back
No, it wasn't an incident.
for 2000 and I believe 15.
Okay. So when you told me before, and I'm not even going to have Whitney read it back, you said the last time you had this speeding little problem and evading police, I said, well, before that? And you said, yeah, I did before that in 2004.
Correct.
But that was a lie.
Which was like...
Just a second, that was a lie. You had another case involving a fraud in 2015 on which you were on probation, which means that you were either found guilty or took a plea.
Correct.
Okay. And when the police officer, Mr. Davis, took down your statement, You said that while you acknowledged that you had a samurai sword in your room, you said you had never shown it to Mr. Zadie.
Correct, Your Honor.
You had never showed it at any time. Well, then how would he know that you had a samurai sword, sir, in your room when he called the police?
Because he was going in my room, I believe, when I was not there, going through my stuff.
Okay.
That's the only other way I can know that he was.
Okay. I'm not finished reading this, yes.
Okay, that's fine.
That's like the 2015 case. You just remembered. Do you have any other police reports that you'd like me to see, Mr. Davis?
Not a police report, but I have the bail bonds receipt that I paid. And
I'm not interested in your bail bonds receipt.
I have the DA reject.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, they rejected the case right here.
Yeah,
They refused
I'd like
to file
to see
charges. Your Honor, there's a conflicting story where he said he was left on the 9th because he was there 2 weeks with his guest prior to that. So how could he leave on the 9th if his guest was there 2 weeks prior to
I
the
asked him when he left for his... Sir, you didn't understand the reason for my question. I wanted to know if he had been gone from October 31st, which was your birthday, to the 8th. That's why I asked him when he left on his business trip.
Correct.
And he said he didn't leave until the date of this incident. You want to say he left before?
He did.
That would
leave
be
before.
interesting.
He
What?
did leave before.
He did.
Yes.
On what date did he leave?
I don't know the exact date, but I
A
know
week before, 5 days before?
it was maybe about a few weeks before.
November 9th?
Yeah, a few weeks.
Then he wouldn't have been able to see your sword because he wouldn't have been coming in and out of your room.
There from the 9th.
Well,
from
this
the
happened on the
31st
9th.
From the 31st to the 9th, he was there.
Well, you just told me he left 2 weeks before.
I'm saying he was gone before that date, and then on the 31st, between the 31st and the 9th, he was there at the place.
Okay, well, that's what he says. He said he was there, and the business was only one day. He left on the 9th, and he came home on the 9th. You said, no, he was there for 2 weeks before. Well, if he was there for 2 weeks before and you didn't get the sword until 31st of October, he could not have seen it by going in and out of your room. So you have to sort of get your story straight, sir. So he was there or not there, according to you?
He was there.
He was there?
Correct.
Okay, good.
His guest was also there for about 2 weeks.
Just who cares about his guest? He owns the house.
Okay.
Okay, it was a misdemeanor case and they declined to prosecute it.
Correct.
Your case is dismissed, Mr. Davis, for several reasons. It's dismissed because it was brought in an untimely fashion. It was brought 2 years after the fact for no valid reason.
Your Honor,
it's
it was
dismissed for that.
pandemic.
It's dismissed for a second reason, because I find some of your testimony, sir, incredible. And one of the reasons I say that is because you were not forthcoming with a legitimate answer to me with regard to your prior history, which isn't always dispositive, but if you had something pending for evading the police, and you had something pending for evading the police while you were on probation for a crime for which you were convicted, either after trial or after hearing, do you understand? You would remember that. Are you still on probation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, your case is dismissed. We're done.
This
You're
court is
making a
adjourned.
big mistake, Your Honor. You have guests over 2 to 3 weeks at a time, but I have a girl over for 3 days, and now it's World War III.
He was only allowed to stay there by himself, not with his girlfriend.
I never went at him with a samurai sword.
It was pretty scary.
He basically just used the system against me because I'm a person of color and I have a record already, so I fit the bill.
He had a criminal record. When I rented the room to him, he was asking for a second chance.
It's easier for them to lock somebody up who's already been to jail.
Nobody was renting him the room, and he was saying he's trying to start a new life.
I'm 6'1", 200 pounds. I wouldn't even need a weapon if I was going to assault him, but I never did.
Thank you, Judge Judy.
You know, there are so many lessons from this case, I think, Sarah. One of them is there's a reason that the law tells you to bring an action in a timely fashion, right?
Many reasons.
Many reasons. One is because it's not like an afterthought, you know, and there are reasons for delays. You were in a hospital, you go into the armed forces, but here there was no really legitimate reason for him not bringing this kind of case in a timely fashion. And the other one that's always a good thing to me, what did you think about his credibility?
Yeah, I think it's hard for a fact finder to believe the totality of your testimony if one of the first questions, just about a simple question of your prior history with law enforcement, if you have any pending charges, I think that's a very simple question. If you aren't fully truthful with the fact finder on that question, it makes it really difficult, and the rest of your testimony is now suspect.
That's true. And it's a good lesson, because sometimes you think, well, it's sort of an innocuous question. I don't have to get it. But I, sitting as a juror in a case, see that somebody is fabricating a fact.
Yep.
and they want you to believe them. You know, they're saying it is that I want you to believe my last law enforcement issue was in 2004.
A long time ago, no run-ins.
Right, nothing else, and a
sets the
speeding.
tone.
And a speeding.
Yeah.
ticket. And
It sets
then
the tone in a negative way, and it makes
Right.
it difficult for the fact finder to find in your
it
favor.
does. I'm glad.
Autumn Burke is suing her former friend, Freya Brown, for vandalizing her car and an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2186, Burke versus Brown.
Thank you. Ms. Burke, I understand that you and the defendant met when you were both in foster care.
Yes.
How old are you?
19.
And how old were you, if I can ask you these questions, if you're uncomfortable, please let me know. How old were you when you went into foster care?
16, I believe.
Were you originally placed in group homes?
Yes, and through Orangewood Foundation, as well as transitional housing programs.
When did you start transitional housing from group homes?
I started that when I was 17. That was in 2021, where I was roommates with Freya, and we lived there.
Okay, and could you describe the facility where you were living?
We were living in Tustin, an apartment complex where they rent out the rooms, and they have foster kids go in there, and then they pay, well, they don't pay rent, but it's a transitional program to move up to the extended foster care transitional housing program for after you're 18. So it's better to be placed into this one, so it helps foundation towards the next one.
Towards total independence?
Yes.
And how long did you stay in that facility? Until when?
Like a few months after I turned 18, I got into the Costa Mesa transitional housing.
Okay, from Costa Mesa, do you go into any other facility through the foster care system, or are you then supposed to get a job and get on your own 2 feet?
So this program, the independent living program, it's really hard for foster kids to get into. You have to be set up with all the requirements, and so...
What kind of requirements? Are there academic requirements?
Yeah, academic requirements, working, going to school, meeting with the manager that comes in every week. Yes.
Were you going to school?
Yes.
What school were you going to?
Golden West College.
Are you still going to school?
Yes, I currently am taking a break from this semester, but I'm still going to continue it.
Are you working?
Yes.
And you're living on your own?
I'm renting a room out in Irvine with 2 different roommates.
And Miss Brown, what about you? How long have you been in the foster care system, and how old are you now?
I've been in the foster care system since I was 13 years old. I am currently 19.
Tell me where you're living.
Right now, I live in a rented room in a house also in Irvine.
Tell me what you're doing.
Right now, I work in sales. I'm a sales associate.
Is it a full-time job?
It's part-time. I'm also in school. I go to Fullerton College, and I'm a biology major.
Interesting. Are you good in science?
I really liked science in high school, so yeah.
Well, you seem like 2 absolutely delightful ladies. I don't know why you got into this kerfuffle, but each one of you claim that you were assaulted by the other. You claim that Ms. Brown caused vandalism to your car. Ms. Brown says that you had her falsely arrested after this altercation, which seems to be an unhappy event over a guy.
Over a guy.
I mean, they're necessary evils, but over a guy. So 2 lovely girls who probably weathered a lot of storms in your life to keep together that most 15, 16-year-olds don't have to do. How could 2 nice girls get into a kerfuffle over a guy?
I have no idea.
Go.
Okay, so on September 2nd, near 10 p.m., I was cooking us dinner, and Freya's sitting at the counter, and then while I'm cooking dinner, I get a call from my ex, and he's just...
From your ex-boyfriend, not ex-husband.
Oh, yes.
From your ex-boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay. And his name is, what's his first name?
I would prefer...
Let's call him Cat.
Cat, yeah. So
you get a call from Cat. Do you know Cat?
Personally, no, I do not know him.
Have you ever met him?
No, I have not.
Okay. So now you get a call from Cat. And how long has he been your ex-boyfriend?
Well, we just had a situationship, like it was just off and on, but he just called me and I just had him on the phone as speaker, and...
So you had him on speakerphone, you're cooking her dinner, she's sitting at the counter.
Yeah, and he starts making flirtatious comments, like saying if I had any cute friends near around, and I know it doesn't sound right, but
It doesn't. No, it doesn't sound good, Miss Burke.
yeah, but that's just like I know him, and that's like a different story. But regardless, then
So what was
Freya-
he? I want to know what he was saying.
Well,
you
he
have to
just-
tell me because she probably remembers what he was saying.
I do.
So if you don't remember, I'll ask her. What did he say?
He asked in general if I had any cute friends near me or any around. Just saying if there was any cute friends near me. So that he,
Okay, so your ex-boyfriend calls you and asks you if you have any cute friends around.
Yes.
And you didn't just hang up on him.
Well, yes. I told him, I said that I can't like see him tonight and that he shouldn't be saying that. But the call ended because he had to go because he had to go back to work. So it ended quick.
Wait just a second. He must have said something that annoyed her.
That was it. He just asked
What did
if
he
I
say?
had...
Okay, you don't remember. What did he say?
He called her, they were talking for a minute, and then she was saying, you know, oh, I miss you, this and that. And he was like, can I come over? At which point she told him, oh, I'm with my two friends. And he was like, oh, what do they look like? Are they cute? How old are they? Which I thought was disrespectful to me and also disrespectful to her. I was trying to be a good friend. I informed her of it. And
No, so he was acting like a guy.
Yeah.
You know,
yes.
Think before you talk. There's no filter here. So he's saying, oh, really? You can't come over? You have two friends? Ah, are they cute? Are they nice looking? And just to tell you, Miss Brown, I don't think it was disrespectful. I just think it's a stupid remark.
No,
Do you understand?
I understand,
It's
but
just stupid.
The tone and then the content, because it was on speaker, like I could hear everything. So
when he hung up, what did you say to her?
after they hung up, I didn't say anything to her. She said to me, she was like, you don't know him, you know, like we're in love.
And you said to her?
Basically saying, I don't know him. So I was like, yes, you're completely right. I don't know him, but I don't want to hang out with him, basically is what I told her.
Well, was he coming over?
No, I was just telling her, like.
And what's your version? After he hung up, let me hear your version of what she said.
Okay, so after I hung up, it was just practically some of what she said, but it was more in an aggressive way and with a lot of attitude. And
show me.
I get done with the phone and I'm cooking, and then she wants to like humble under her breath and like say like, I don't know, just rude things about the call and like just looking at me weird. And I'm like, what's the problem? And I was
Okay, so she's looking at you weird and you say, what's the problem? And she says,
I don't know. She was going off and about, and then she started throwing trash on my counter and then threw it at me.
Your Honor.
Yeah, you did.
That is
no,
true.
No, I have to tell you something. So far, it makes sense. But then I don't want you to tell me she just went from nothing disrespect to throwing food around the counter. That didn't happen.
That did not.
Okay, so before she started throwing the trash on my counter, she was saying how that I had attitude, but I was telling her that I didn't have attitude. I was trying to de-escalate the situation by talking to her.
Attitude. So far, we're not attitude. So far, she's mumbling.
No, that's what
you
she
said under her breath.
Yeah, and then so she, I don't know, she would, like I said, it was a snap of a finger. Like, I'd never seen her switch like that. And, you know, I was confused. And then after she threw the trash, I told her to grab your stuff and get out of my house. And so I gave her time. She went in my room, grabbed her stuff. I waited by the door. I had it wide open. And she's just cursing and yelling and just like, I didn't want her in my house. And if I would have known she was like that.
No, let's not. Don't go down any tributaries. When you got out to the car, she had a brick in her hand. Was there any damage to the car?
Yes, I have photos, proof to the left driver's side, and there's a video as well of the neighbor's Ring camera showing her vandalizing my car.
Okay, I'll see the video.
Autumn Burke claims her former friend, Freya Brown, owes for vandalism and an assault. Freya is countersuing for an assault and filing a false police report.
There's a piece that I'm missing from this story, but let's say they're following your timeline. It probably makes sense as you got into an argument. You said to her, you know, he's really not that way. He's really a nice guy, and I love him. And she said, well, somebody who really loves you doesn't say, I want to come over and hang out with your two good-looking friends. That could escalate into something that's angry.
Your Honor. Well, the thing is, when she did mention those things, they weren't calm as you expressed. Yes. They weren't. They were very aggressive.
They could have been aggressive, but that's... They could have been aggressive.
I didn't see a reason why it should have been that way at all.
Listen, I'm not saying I agree with you or not, But I'm saying that common sense dictates to me that if you're on the phone with somebody that you still like, and that you're an on-again, off-again, and you can't come over today because I have 2 friends here. Oh, really? You have 2 friends? Maybe I'll come over and hang out with your 2 friends. She found that disrespectful. I actually find it disrespectful to you and disrespectful to him. You really have nothing to do with it, Miss Brown. Somebody else was being a schlemiel.
No, I mean, I wasn't saying like...
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so now you tell her to get out, open her things. She's out the door, and?
Well, no, she's not out the door yet. So then I have the door wide open. She comes, and then we're still, like, argumenting, and I'm trying to get her out of my house. She pushes me, and then I go back into... Yes, it is. I go back into the door, and then she starts hitting on my arm, like, hitting me, so I'm, like, defending back, and it was just crazy. Like, I didn't realize I had the door wide open for her to get out, like, peacefully. And
okay, so
that
she
didn't
pushes
happen.
you, she puts her hands on you, you put your hands on her, pushing. And up until that point, there's a lot of maybe pushing, touching the arms, touching the hand, but nobody is injured. Is that a fair statement, standing at the door?
Well, I got assaulted because I have the pictures to show that my nail came off.
No, I'm asking you a question.
Yes.
Up until that time, did your nail come off during that time?
Yes.
Was it a real nail or a fake nail?
Both. Both of my nails came off. Like, it was
on the
top
same
of
finger, you had a fake nail over your
real nail, and it both ripped off.
Okay,
I have
I'll take a look.
pictures.
Okay, I see a black and blue mark here that's under here.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
And this is on your hand.
Yes.
What was this?
From blocking her hitting me.
What was she hitting you with?
Just her hands. Like, she was just like a cat fight. Like, she just went crazy. And so I was defending her out, trying to get her out of my house.
Okay. Did you respond to her hitting you?
Yes.
Yes. Do you have any photographs?
Yes, I do have
I'd like
photos
to
of-
take a look. So I see a scratch above your eye and a little bruise on this part of your hand. Is that what it is?
Yes, on my wrist.
And then there's a bruise on, is it this part of your elbow?
My elbow, yes.
Okay, so now you're arguing with each other. You both get banged up a little bit. Now she's outside.
Yes.
And what did you do? You finally got her out the front door.
So after a few minutes, she called me and said, "Warning, I'm at your car." So when I heard that, I called the cops immediately, and I asked them to come down because I think she's gonna be vandalizing my car or God knows what. And then so when that happened, me and my witness, Jasmine, we walked down out of my house because I wanted to go see, like, if my car, like, what was going on. And so as I'm walking out, my car's parked over here. Freya's over here. And so when I'm walking out, then I meet her right here, and she has a brick in her hand. And yeah, she had a brick in her hand the whole time until the cops came, and then they arrested her, and they asked me if I wanted to file for assault and vandalization, and I said yes.
Okay, and when you got out to the car, she had a brick in her hand. Was there any damage to the car?
Yes, I have photos, proof to the left driver's side, and there's a video as well of the neighbor's Ring camera showing her vandalizing my car.
Yeah,
Oh,
let me
sorry.
see the damage, and then I'll see the video.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'll see the video.
Okay. Okie dokie. That's where you were arrested, Miss Brown?
Yes.
Have you ever seen that video before?
I have not.
You have not?
No.
Okay. Can I see the estimates to the damage
Yes,
to your
ma'am.
car? Tell me when you bought this car.
I bought this car on August 1st in 2022. It was my first car. I paid for it full, all by myself.
You paid for it in cash?
Yes, and a check.
Okay. How long had you been saving for the car?
Oh, I've been saving for it for years, like a few years, ever since I've been working.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid a total of, I believe, $7,300 and something dollars.
Okay. So the estimate to fix the car is $3,777.
Yes, ma'am.
And the next thing is the price of the vehicle, for which you paid $73.50.
Yes.
Now, Ms. Brown, one would say to you as a result of seeing that video, temper, 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 you may have a temper, you can't do what you did. Would you acknowledge that you can't do what you did?
Yes, I acknowledge.
Great. So that means that you have to take care of this problem.
She hit me first, Your Honor.
And we're not talking about hitting.
I understand.
I'm talking about vandalizing a car. She says the weapon was a knife.
It was.
And the knife was being held by you.
Yes, that's
So you
self-defense.
took. No, it's not in self-defense anymore, madam. It's not self-defense. She's out. She's away from you.
Autumn Burke has accused her former friend, Freya Brown, of vandalism and assault. Freya claims Autumn threatened her with a knife and filed a false police report.
Neither one of you were hospitalized as a result of this assault. You got a couple of black and blue marks. Two
She
girls
also
had a
threatened
fight,
me with a
and
knife.
that shouldn't have happened. But now the fight is de-escalated, and you went outside and purposely vandalized her car in a very, very aggressive way. And all I'm saying to you is, you understand that that was temper, temper, temper. You're not allowed to do that, and you have to pay for it.
She also threatened me with a knife.
She what?
I didn't.
Threatened me with a knife.
Just a second. I didn't see that when you were out there by yourself picking up a brick, right?
Yes.
And that was a long video. I don't see her in that video at all. I just see you picking up the brick, not doing enough damage, picking it up, doing a little more damage, picking it up, going to another side of the car, picking it up, going to the front of the car. I don't see her there threatening you.
She didn't threaten me at that point.
Right. Clearly, when you left the house, that ugly confrontation had been de-escalated.
It had not actually.
Of course it was, because you were out there by yourself. You could have gone. And if it was an ugly confrontation, you go to the police station and you say, I left my license in my friend's car. We had a fight. Could you come back with me on a standby and get my license instead of using a brick to bash in her car?
My circumstances were different from Autumn's. I would like to inform you of that.
What were your different circumstances?
Well, I was supposed to be moving in 3 days, which Autumn was aware of. So had I called the police and been like, oh, I need this help, then I would have jeopardized my housing.
Oh, no, that's not true. Sorry about that, Miss Brown. If you called the police and merely said to them, I don't want to have an argument with her, that would not have jeopardized your getting into housing. Having this fight and vandalizing her car, that could prevent you from getting into housing.
That's what got me kicked out.
I'm just telling you, calling the police is not an issue. Going outside and for a period of probably at least 60 seconds and moving from different parts of her car and hitting it with a brick and bending down and picking up the brick again, that would prevent you from getting into housing.
I wasn't referring to the calling the police, I meant the fighting.
Oh, I'm not talking about the fighting. $37.75, that's the cost of fixing the car. Now, the only other issue that you have on your counterclaim is for being falsely arrested.
Yes.
I would arrest you for that. You should be. Listen, if I came out of my house and found somebody bashing my property, I don't care if we had a long-standing feud. Well, I have a long-standing feud with her. We had an argument. We had a fight, whatever. That is not the natural progression of having an altercation with an old friend, going out and vandalizing her car. So your countersuit for being falsely arrested is dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,775.
Your Honor, I'm going to be rightfully for losing my housing during that process because of that incident, because of the transitional housing program I was in. I got kicked out of it, and so I had 30 days. So I believe I should be getting for that as well because
Where's the head of the Department of Social Services to testify before me that the reason you lost your housing, if in fact you did lose your housing, was because of this vandalism. You have a witness here to tell me that?
I have the 30 days notice, if that counts.
May?
Yes.
I'll take a look.
Oh, here it is.
This says, letters to give you written 30-day notice to move out of the transitional housing program. You were involved in a verbal physical altercation which involved a weapon with another individual and resulted in the police being called on September 1st, 2022. When you entered the program, you were informed and signed paperwork agreeing to our program rules and expectations. Who was it alleged that had the weapon?
She had a knife.
I brought it out of self-defense. I dropped it right when I saw you.
Just a second.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I
Just
did.
a second. Well, just a second. She says the weapon was a knife.
It was.
And the knife was being held by you.
Yes, that's
So you
self-defense.
took. No, it's not in self-defense anymore, madam. It's not self-defense. She's out. She's away from you. Your choice is to call the police and wait. Your choice is not to pick up a knife, because so far this altercation has been a lot of tussling between girls that shouldn't have happened, but so far nothing involved a weapon. So you went outside with a knife, and according to the rules, you can't do that. And that was the reason that you lost your housing, because there's no other reason. It said it involved a weapon, and they listed the rules: drugs, alcohol, assault, danger, making threats. Well, you have a knife, that's threats, whatever. 3775, fix your car. You're not allowed to do that to her car. That's a hissy fit. Figure out how to do it. Your counterclaim's dismissed. You should have been arrested for vandalism. Goodbye.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I was in shock. I was like, wow, like over no reason, over my ex calling me, like, come on, like we're adults now. I'm gonna move on with my life and just go up from here and not down here where other people like to take me down to their level. I'm super thankful to have her handle my case today. She is a queen.
You know what I was really impressed with both of those girls, Sarah? You know, I know the foster care system, usually wherever it is, can be a brutal system to negotiate. And these two young women, at least on the surface, appear to have negotiated it in an orderly, reasonable way. I mean, she's living on her own. She evidently worked for a very long time because she saved up and bought her own car. That's a lot of response. That's a big deal.
And to even be able to figure out the system, which even as lawyers, sometimes we have a difficult time navigating things in the foster care system, to figure out this transitional program that better sets you up for the next step, that sets you up better for the next step. I respected that she took the time to figure out
both of them.
Both.
Actually,
or
both.
their best possible options for navigating the system that they were placed in.
Both working.
Yes.
Both going to school to try to get themselves into a better circumstance. The defendant certainly is a biology major, which is fascinating
Not
to
our
me.
thing.
Not our thing.
Great for her.
But clearly, bright young women who made it to a place at age 19 that's really terrific. And supportive of each other, because one had a license, one didn't, so they were supporting each other. All very lovely. And get into a kerfuffle over nothing.
It shows just how fast all that work and all that preparation for the next step and for the housing can just
unravel. Really sad. That's sad. But they seem like two nice young women, and I think that they have both of them have a shot.
Yeah, to make it back.
Adam Snyder and Julie Alice are suing their former employee, Trevor McCormick, for breaking his lease, the cost of a phone, as well as a personal loan.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Case number 2031, Snyder Alice versus McCormick.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Snyder, you own a farm,
I do.
and this is your girlfriend.
Yes.
How long has she been your girlfriend?
5 years tomorrow.
You say that as a 5 years tomorrow, and?
And I'm just saying, it's 5 years.
5 years tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
the rest of our lives.
Okay, good. You know that?
No, he's learning.
He's learning. Terrific. Okay, this is what I'm gathering from the bare bones of the story. Mr. McCormick was dating an employee of yours.
Correct.
What was that employee's name?
Natasha.
When were you dating the lovely Natasha?
We weren't really dating. We were an acquaintance.
Where was Natasha living?
She was living, when we first met, she was living at a friend's house, and she was working for Adam as an employee at a restaurant.
And when was that? Month and year?
I'd say around September of last year.
September 2021.
Yes.
And?
And we decided to move out because Adam had.
Well, so you were living with Natasha at the friend's house?
Yes.
Where had you been living before?
My mom's.
So you went from mom's house to Natasha and a friend's house?
Yes.
Okay. And then where did you go?
Then we moved into the trailer right next to Adam that he owned.
Who had a discussion with Mr. Snyder about potentially renting the trailer so you would have a place to live? And what kind of rent were you paying?
I believe it was $800.
And you moved into the trailer when?
Around November.
Of 2021?
Yes.
And you lived in the trailer till when?
About March.
March of 2022?
Yes.
In March, what happened?
Me and Natasha weren't getting along. I just had enough.
There was never a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship.
No.
She was just a friend. Did you know that?
That is not true.
So what did you do?
I asked Adam if I could move into the ranch house. There was nobody living there at the time.
Where were you living?
I live at my home with Julie.
Okay, and there's a ranch house on the farm.
I have a ranch house on a separate piece of property.
Close by to the farm?
Yes, 3 miles.
That was vacant?
Correct.
Okay, so you asked to rent it?
Yes.
Who was going to rent it?
I was.
Just you?
Yes, just me.
How much was the rent?
It was $800.
And this was in March?
Yes.
Prior to March of 2022, what kind of work were you doing?
I was working at a factory.
How long did you work there?
About a month.
What month?
March.
Prior to March, where were you working?
On Adam's farm.
From when to when?
I'd say about December until March.
Well, in December to March, you were living in the trailer.
Yes.
Okay. And you were living with the lovely Natasha.
Correct.
And Natasha, I assume, was contributing to the rent.
Yes.
And how much were you contributing to the rent? Is not an answer. How much were you contributing to the rent from December to March?
Couple hundred.
2021.
Couple hundred a month.
That's not an answer. A couple of hundred a month. How much do you pay for rent? $316 a month and 24 cents. How much does it cost to have your garbage picked up? $59.12. Do you understand? Certain things change. What was your electric bill last year? I don't remember. What was your bill last month? I don't remember.
$300, ma'am.
You see? But I mean, a couple is two.
Yes.
Who did you pay that to?
Natasha.
Well, I can't tell whether you paid that to Natasha or not. Did you ever discuss rent with Mr. Snyder?
No.
Even in the trailer?
Even in the trailer.
So that was all done through Natasha?
Correct.
Okay. But according to you, you worked someplace in March, but before that you worked on the farm.
Yes.
From when to when? December to March?
Yes.
Beginning, middle, or the end of December?
The middle, the 16th.
Is that about right?
If you want to call
Just
helping...
helping whatever.
Yes.
December 16th. Okay. And from December 16th, you did whatever work it was on the farm until March?
Yes.
March what?
Till I moved out.
No, March what? Beginning, middle, and...
28th.
And what was the rent in the ranch house? The ranch house must have been nicer than the trailer you were living in.
$800.
You moved in April?
Yes.
How much money did you give him?
$900.
Some was to go towards security?
I was in between jobs, and that's what I had. So we made an agreement that I'd pay $900 the week of, and then so on and so on. I don't have
What's the so on and so on?
I don't have the copy of the lease. He never gave me it.
Did you sign a lease?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
I have it right here. In the back of the contract, you'll see where we wrote down he would pay $900
Just a second.
on the 8th.
Okay, so the security deposit was supposed to be $1,200. You paid $8.
Paid $9.
The security deposit was $12, and you paid $9 of security deposit?
I paid $9 total, ma'am.
Well, how many months did you live there?
Not even one.
When did you move out?
April 24th, I moved out.
Is that correct?
That's close, yes.
Okay.
I don't know exactly when he moved out because he didn't tell me he was moving out. He just locked the door.
Okay.
And wouldn't
but it was in
return
April.
messages.
Okay. And you had $900.
He paid $900.
And the rent on the property was supposed to be?
$800 per month.
$800 monthly.
Yes.
So right now, you've been paid for the month that he lived there.
Correct.
Prior to his moving in there, who was living there?
Nobody.
So it wasn't rented?
Nope.
In what year was it last rented?
2021.
When?
Oh, no, it was in February. We did an eviction on it.
So somebody lived there and didn't pay rent?
Correct.
Is that the first person who came and didn't pay rent?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Yeah, it's
And
lousy
Trevor
to be a
was there, and
landlord.
he helped us do the
Yeah.
eviction on that, so he knew how it worked.
Hmm?
Trevor was there. He helped us do the eviction because we had to have court officers there
To get him out because they weren't paying rent.
So he knows how it works.
Well, he may know how it works, but he did, in fact, give you $900.
He did.
and he lived there for less than a month.
That's right.
So that's sort of square. I know you'd like him to be responsible for his lease, but you have your house back. Now, tell me about this phone that you say he owes you for.
Okay.
By the way, where's your phone?
I have my phone that I paid for. Their phone that I put a down payment for is at my house.
Why?
I didn't know I had to bring it.
Well, it was just purchased within the last year.
Yeah.
Why do you have two phones? You have no
Because,
job. Why do you have two phones?
I have a job.
Oh, good.
I bought this outright because he shut the other phone off.
Oh, well, where is the phone?
The phone's at my house.
What kind of phone is it?
It's an iPhone 13.
You want it back?
I'd like him to just pay for it like the agreement was, but...
He gets back his phone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Even though I paid
just
it
a
down.
second. Where do you live? Where do you live?
I live in Highland.
Where is that?
It's by Detroit, Michigan.
Who else lives at home?
My girlfriend,
What's her name?
Ariel.
Where is she?
She is currently working right now.
Does she know where the phone is?
Yes.
Okay. They're going to give you an envelope in the clerk's office back here. You're going to tell Ariel to put his phone carefully packed and mail it to him. FedEx, UPS, the fastest way it will get there. Then you get your phone back. Go. What's next?
I have text messages here from Trevor. This will show where, when he was dating Natasha, they had agreed that they would pay for their phones up front so that I would put them on my business plan. I told them I would only do that if they paid for the phones up front, because when I took Trevor to Verizon, I said, if they don't pay for their phone bill, as long as they've paid for these phones in full, I can shut them off and it will cost my business no money, correct? And the lady said, that is right. I said, okay, then we can do it. So we added them to the bill, to the business plan. And here, where I text him, I said, you and Natasha told me you were paying for the phone in cash. That's why I allowed you on my business plan. Now I found out that you did not pay for the phones up front, because when we were in there, he and Natasha had the cash.
Did you assure Mr. Snyder that you were going to pay for the phone?
I had no idea I was even going to get a phone until Natasha said, go with Adam and go pick up our phones. That's all I heard, and that's what I did.
Well,
I didn't know
can't
about
say
the
that to
cash.
me because the lovely Natasha isn't here either. Sir, you're going to get your phone back. Is it one phone or more?
We recovered the second one from...
Well, you're going to recover this one too. You recovered the second one.
Yeah.
Second one was Natasha's?
Correct.
Great, we're going to recover this one too. What's next? Changing lock fees, and you want a personal loan. Okay. So once he moved out, according to you, he moved out totally, and you didn't even know he moved out, so I don't know why the locks were changed.
The lock did not need changed. I did tell the court that we were going to have to change the locks because the key was missing. I didn't know that while I was away on storm, Julie had gone in to check and make sure the water wasn't running, and she found the key on the table. And that is what Trevor said.
So we're going to eliminate that. And now we're going to go to the small loan that you say that you made to the defendant.
So Natasha came over, guys. Like he said, she worked at...
Don't tell me what Natasha asked you. That's all hearsay. I need to know what conversations you had with the defendant.
Okay, but she came over...
But you can't tell me what she said, you see.
Okay. So
and
anyway,
if you made a contract, if you made a contract with Natasha for a loan of money, even if it went for his benefit, do you understand? Okay. Even if it went for his benefit, he's not responsible. If Natasha says, I want you to give, what's your first name?
Trevor.
Trevor, a loan to fix his car, and you say, okay, you need somebody to pay you back. Natasha has to say, I'll pay you back. However, you can't tell me that.
I was not in the house at the time when they were discussing that.
Well, you said you went into the house.
I came to pick Natasha up.
I don't want you to make yourself appear any more stupid. Do you understand? Try not to do that.
Adam Snyder and Julie Alice claim their former employee, Trevor McCormick, owes for the cost of a phone and a personal loan. Trevor is countersuing for unpaid wages.
Now, did you ever have a conversation with Trevor about money?
I do. I have a text message telling him...
No, tell me, not a text message.
The conversation was not verbal.
It was by text message?
Correct.
Okay, so I'd like to see text message from him.
Yep. This has from Trevor. This is his number.
Okay. May I see it, please?
He did pay me $100 in cash.
Okay, so it's clear from this text exchange, sir, that you borrowed a certain amount of money from the plaintiff.
I did not borrow Natasha.
Yes, well, it acknowledges it here because you say, I start that job on the 14th. I will pay you back out of my first check. It was for me, and I will pay it. That's what you wrote. Do you understand? Do you want to look at it?
No.
You don't want to look at it. You're not questioning me. So it's clear from this that you borrowed money from Miss Ailes.
I personally did not. I didn't even know what was going on.
Who wrote this? I start that job on the 14th.
That was me.
Well, then, that's in response to her text message to you that says, hello, Trevor. I heard you were moving out and I need that paid by the end of the month. I have been very patient as no attempt has been made on this. Thank you. And you immediately wrote back to her and said, I start that job on the 14th and I will pay you out of my first paycheck. That's what you said to her.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Now, I'm going to get back and ask you the question I think I asked before. What was the loan for?
I broke down in Oklahoma.
In what month and year was that?
About September of last year.
September of 2021 is just about when you started dating Natasha.
Correct.
Okay, so your car broke down in Oklahoma. And?
And it had to get fixed.
And?
So I rode the Greyhound bus back up to Michigan and waited until my car got fixed, which took months.
I'm asking you, what was the loan for?
To go back down and get my car.
So it was $670 that you borrowed from her, and I want to know how it was that you got the money.
I came in to Julie's house, and Natasha said, you're going to Oklahoma to pick up your car, because I didn't have any money right then and there, but I wasn't going to ask anybody.
Just a second. I don't care what you were going to do, what you didn't do, what you thought about doing. You went into the house that the plaintiffs share.
Mm-hmm.
Not uh-huh. Uh-huh is not an answer. The answer is yes. The lovely Natasha was there.
Yes.
With Julie.
Yes.
What did you say and what did Julie say to you? Just Julie.
Julie didn't really say anything. She said, don't tell Adam about the money.
Oh, so she said she would give you money.
Yes.
And she knew exactly how much you needed.
Yes.
Did you tell her that?
No.
Okay. When she gave you the money, did she give it to you in check or cash?
She didn't give me no money. She gave Natasha the money.
Okay. How much was it?
$700, around there.
And after it was given to you by Natasha, but you were all in the same room together.
I was not in the house at the time when they were discussing that.
Well, you said you went into the house.
I came to pick Natasha up. Yes.
I don't want you to make yourself appear any more stupid. Do you understand?
Yes.
Try not to do that. You were in the house with Julie and Natasha at some point, and at some point, money was discussed.
No.
Was money discussed in front of him?
No, it was not.
Okay. So your loan was not with him. Do you understand?
Yes.
Unless he ratifies the loan subsequently. Is that correct?
Correct.
This is from my person who just studied for the bar, and I have to go back in my mind 50 years. If my memory is correct, if you don't make a loan directly with someone, they cannot be obligated to repay that money. However, if they subsequently get use of that money and subsequently agree to repay you, they have ratified that contract.
Correct. You just have to decide if that's a ratification.
Yeah. What would be your take on that? Take a look at it very carefully. What would be your take?
It was for me, I will pay it. Seems pretty close to textbook ratification.
Yeah, I would say so. I start a job on the 14th. I will pay you back out of my first paycheck.
I just wanted to keep the peace because she was down my throat.
This woman was down your throat?
Yes.
She may have been annoyed, very annoyed, but she wasn't down your throat. She was the one who volunteered to give you money in your time of need. How could she be down your throat? Okay. So far you paid her back $100. Is that what he paid you back? So he owes you $600. Okay. So far, Mr. Snyder, I'm not with you on it, on the rent.
Okay.
I'm not with you on the lock change fees. I am with you on the phone, which you're going to get back. He's going to get that back within 5 days. Otherwise, he's going to have difficulty.
Here from the day that he did the phone purchases. Instead of paying for the phones up front, he also added a bunch of other cordless phone chargers and everything else to the bill.
How much were the extras?
Totally, there's 2,000.
No. I don't want them total. Total, you're going to get the phone back. What were the extras that he charged onto the phone?
There's a $41.99.
$41.99.
There is a $20.99.
Okay. You know that I went to 7 years of postgraduate school for this. Keep going.
$29.99.
7 years, they were very hard years. I also took the bar exam. Keep going, $29.99.
$17.99.
Oh, it's getting worse. Not better for you, Mr. Snyder.
And $11.99.
Worse, a lot worse.
$122.95.
Okay. You have a counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
Working on the farm,
Okay. Tell me about that. From when to when did you work on the farm?
November to the end of March.
And what were you doing between November and March?
I was feeding cattle when Adam was on storm, watering them.
To March
taking
what? The
after
end of
him.
March?
Yes, right.
I thought you worked at a factory.
I did both.
Well, you can't do both. You work at a factory. I asked you if you had a job. You said, I work at a factory.
I did do both.
Well, now I need the name of the factory and find out what your shift was.
I was,
And you worked during the day.
yes.
From when to when?
From
Time.
6 to 6.
Well,
I had,
Just a second. Mr. McCormick, if you work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., it is not possible to work a full-time job for the plaintiff as well.
I had a schedule of three on, 2 off.
Okay. We're making it up as we're going along. Did you have a financial arrangement with him for putting out these bales of hay?
We never did. Although he did get paid for everything he did until the last day that he worked for me, where we were tearing apart a building.
That's
Oh,
incorrect.
just don't speak.
Adam Snyder and Julie Alice have accused their former employee, Trevor McCormick, of refusing to pay the costs of a phone and the balance of a loan. Trevor claims he was not paid for the work he did on their farm.
Now, did he work for you?
It would be very minimal. He would put hay bales out, which would take 10
He would
minutes.
put what?
Hay bales out for the cattle.
Hay bales.
Yes.
At approximately what time of day? Because I'm not getting...
He could come and do it when he got home from work.
Okay. And did you have a financial arrangement with him for putting out these bales of hay?
We never did.
Okay. Is there any reason why you never did?
Because he didn't do it very often, and he said he was just happy to help, although he did get paid for everything he did until the last day that he worked for me, where we were tearing apart a building.
So he got paid when he worked for you?
He did.
That's
Oh,
incorrect.
just don't speak. From when to when?
When he helped me, it was very minimal. It would be...
No, I'm not talking about the hay. You said he did, in fact, work for me.
He did.
I want to know, but not on the farm. He worked someplace else.
He helped on another piece of farmland that I have.
Okay.
Where a barn had fallen down. We were tearing the steel off, and he worked 3 hours that morning.
3 hours what morning?
The last day that he was there, it would have been
So that's in March.
early, I would say the second week of March.
Okay. When was the first time he worked there?
I would say probably in January.
And he was working at this other plant from 6 to 6 in March,
Correct.
according to him. So he did some work for you in the first month, which was January.
Yeah, if he helped me, it might be 1 day a week.
Fine, I just want to know if he got paid for it. That's what he's...
Yes, he
We
did.
can't do May something. How much did you pay him?
It would depend on how much he worked. One day I gave him $300 for helping me for a day and a half on another demolition job I did.
And you paid him in cash?
Correct.
Okay.
That was for the demolition job. That wasn't for the farm.
It doesn't make any difference, sir. If you have a full-time job and you're working part-time someplace else and you say he paid you...
He did not pay me.
Well, you say he didn't pay you for the farm. What he's saying is he had a job with me. He was a demolition job for which he got paid, which you do not deny. Is that right?
I'm not.
You just said that's not what I asked you. He paid you for the job that you did part-time for him
Yes,
in
he paid me for that
demolition.
job, yes.
So that's a yes.
Yes.
And what you're suing him for is allegedly money that he owes you for working on the farm during a period that does include March when you were working full-time someplace else.
Correct.
And working for him.
Yes.
And doing this work at the site in March, the first 2 weeks in March, because you got some money for that.
Correct.
So now you have, according to you, 3 jobs. 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
First of all, you had no fixed financial arrangement with him at the farm.
Correct. He said he'd pay me what he can.
That is not a contract. Okay, but let's move forward with that. Tell me what your chores were at the farm.
I would go feed them hay.
Just feed who hay?
The cows.
Okay, how many cows do you have?
130.
Anybody else work on the farm or just him?
Just me mainly, and he would help when I was gone.
Okay, and in order to keep these animals alive, they have to be fed hay.
Correct.
For how many months did you feed them hay?
3.
Once a day?
Yes.
And what time would you do this?
Usually in the morning.
Before you went to work?
Yes.
That had to be 5 o'clock in the morning. You went to work at 6 o'clock. You had a shift, according to you, from 6 to 6.
Yes.
Okay, so how long did this take you in the morning when you had a full-time job?
Sometimes.
Not sometimes. I want you to tell me how long it took you.
Average about an hour and a half a day.
So let's say it took you an hour a day. And how many days did you do it?
I was with him every day before I got the job. I would go with him every day.
I don't care.
Okay.
For the 3 months, I'm asking you how many days you did it.
45.
That be right? In the 3 months, maybe 45 days? How many days did he put out hay?
If Trevor fed the cattle 12 days the whole time by himself, I'd be surprised.
And I helped him because I was there.
You did not help me when
Just
he
a
was
second.
gone.
Yes.
You helped him with the bales
Yes,
of hay?
I helped him because we also had another hired hand that would help me too, so I was rotating between both of them.
Okay, so let's say he worked 20 hours. Did you pay him any extra money for this work?
No, not for feeding cattle.
Not feeding cattle. And you didn't have any arrangement with him whereby he would work on the farm and he would get something off his rent?
No.
Okay, so he has to be paid for that. Sarah Rose, would you look up and see if there's a minimum wage in Michigan? What's the federal minimum wage? I don't know anymore.
$15.
So the minimum wage is now $15 an hour. That's federal.
Yes, ma'am.
15 times 20.
$300.
Okay, so, Mr. Snyder, let's start with you. You are going to get your phone back within 5 days. On your cross-claim against Mr. Snyder, I am awarding you $300 on your counterclaim. That is for the work that you did on the farm. However, we are holding that check until he gets his phone back in good condition.
Yes.
Do you understand? Otherwise, you forfeit that money.
Yes, ma'am.
To him. Do you understand?
Yes.
With regard to the co-plaintiff, I find that you did, in fact, take a loan from her, that you initially did it through a third party, but that you ratified the fact that you would make payments on the loan by two things. First, by acknowledging it in writing, and second, by making a payment. So I'm awarding you $600 on your claim. Those are the orders of the court. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I think they're scam artists.
We came here to try to teach him a lesson that when he enters into contract with somebody, the contract is a contract.
They're greedy. They want money. They need money.
For being greedy, we did a lot to help this guy out.
By doing pretty much anything they asked.
Well, we've decided we're not helping people out anymore. They're on their own.
It's funny because if he didn't send those text messages ratifying the contract that someone else had made on his behalf, he could have gotten away without any responsibility. But when someone makes an agreement on your behalf and you then later either pay for it or admit responsibility that you know you owe it, then you've ratified it and you're held to that, even if you didn't make the initial agreement.
See, and then the right thing happened.
Yeah, it
And
did.
the right thing happened.
It did.
So that's good. That's
Taking
all good.
accountability.
Yeah.
De Torres is suing his former employer, Chad Young, for unpaid wages and filing a false restraining order.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2140, De Torres versus Young.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. De Torres, according to your complaint, you did some work for the defendant as a plumber. Didn't work out, and he terminated you, and he owes you some wages.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says that while your work in the beginning was okay, you were never an employee of his. You're an independent contractor. That's the way he sets it up, and he's going to explain that to me. That he paid you your wages, even though the last job that you did cost him an awful lot to repair. He was not happy with the quality of work that you did, and his counterclaim is for vandalism, something that happened with his truck, work hours lost due to your incompetence. That I'm not going to hear, sir. You know, you make a choice with an employee, and if it turns out to be something that is less than satisfactory, then you let them go. But the one who I assume suffered from what you call lack of quality work that he performed was the person that you were working for. Was that a private residence that he was doing work in?
Yes. Yeah, a bunch
Well,
of
that's
private residents.
Yeah, that's the person who suffered.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we're going to make this as easy as possible. From what days to what days did you work?
I worked for Chad from June 13th to August 3rd.
And how much were you supposed to be paid?
For those 3 days, $840.
And that's for 3 days' work.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you say June 13th?
Yes, ma'am.
To August 3rd?
Correct.
Well, that's more than 3 days.
No, his wage he owes me from August 1st to August 3rd is what he did not pay me for.
Okay, and where did you work during those days?
Multiple residents.
Okay, do you have any sort of a call log from him?
I do. It's right
Okay.
here in my
Do you dispute that he worked from August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd?
Yes.
You dispute that
There was one day he actually did one of my jobs for a couple hours that day.
Doesn't matter. He has a log.
Half a day for one day.
Did you pay him for that half day?
I did not because the job was done incorrectly multiple times.
But he did that job. Okay, now, do you have a log?
As in?
It's some sort of a work log. You have a business. You have people who are general contractors. You get a call. You don't have a payroll because you pay these people independently. Do you pay them in cash or check?
Both.
Well, how did you pay him?
Sometimes it was through a cashier's check and sometimes it was cash.
Okay, but never through a company check where you deducted Social Security.
No, because I 1099 all my employees, so they're all self-employed, so they have to do all that on their own.
I do understand. I mean, you're not the inventor of this whole system, sir, of paying in cash. Okay. Are you one of those independent contractors?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up. How long have you been an independent contractor? with him?
I've been contracted with Chad since July 5th.
Of what year?
This year, 2022.
Oh, so short term.
Yes, ma'am.
Does he pay you in check or cash? No, look at me.
Check it first, and then later on it became through Venmo, and then it's gone back to check now.
What kind of check?
Cashier's check.
Just a straight cashier's check with nothing taken out.
No, ma'am. No, I go to my bank to get all that.
What?
I go to my bank to get the cashier's checks, and sometimes I Venmo him the payment too, just to pay.
I understand, but sir, you're not the first person who I know who pays their people in cash and says that you're independent contractors. You're independent contractors. I don't want to know about it. What name do you use for the cashier's checks?
My personal name.
Is this the first time you've worked for him?
Yes.
Okay, let me see what you have for August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Where did you work? Come on.
There were multiple residents, ma'am.
Well, you have to tell me so that he can answer. He said that you worked half a day that he didn't pay you for.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's say that's a full day. So that's $200.
Okay. See, he would email it on his work phone, and I'd follow the addresses there.
Well, then you would have
write
it on
down
your
my
phone.
short notes
Just
on this.
a second. Then you would have it on your phone.
It was his company phone. He took it back when he came to my house unannounced and told me that I was fired. Redeemed his truck. Got my tools out of his vehicle.
Okay, just a second. Do you have your phone?
I do. I have my personal one that I.
What about the phone that you took from him?
No, that one's actually broke, so it's been with Mo for the past week.
Let me see the notes that you have that you took.
Yes, ma'am.
Fascinating.
It's my shorthand, ma'am.
How do I know what dates these are for?
It was all on his phone, ma'am.
Well, that's not him to have to prove, sir.
I wasn't able to prove anything when he took his phone back. I just had that's the notes when I was employed for him as I wrote down.
It's not helpful to me.
Yes, ma'am.
So far, the only thing that he's acknowledged is that he owes you a day's wages.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is $210. The other part of your complaint is a false restraining order against you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you file a restraining order against him? Do you have a copy of what you wrote in your restraining order?
I do.
I'd like to see it.
So what got me that restraining order is he called and made threats and made
Was
threats.
this after you fired him?
It was.
Okay, so after you fired him, he called you.
Made threats.
Well, what did he say when he called you?
Just basically talking about I'm going to come to your house and everything.
He wanted money.
I guess, yeah.
He said, you didn't pay me.
Yeah.
Okay. You say you got a text message and voicemail from Jeremy threatening to come to my place of residence.
Yes.
Can I hear it?
Yeah. Do you want me to play it? Or do you want to look at it?
I want to look at it.
Okay.
So, Mr. Torres, did you, after he fired you and came to your residence, took your house, did you call him threatening to come to his house?
I did.
You did?
With the police. It says it on these text messages, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to take his phone and those text messages.
There's more text. That's just the one where he said he'd send me my money.
That's the voicemail, if you want me to play it for you. Sometimes the transcription doesn't work.
Yeah.
You want me to play it?
Just.
Hey, bro. I definitely worked more than 9 hours for the last week that I worked for you. I'll be contacting my... Play with me. I'll show up at your house.
Yeah, that's a threat.
With the police.
Just a second. That's a threat.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I've had more.
That's a threat.
I
Just
had
a
more incidents before that as well.
May I say something, ma'am? He accused me of going into his gated community, slashing tires on his work vehicle. I stated that I was going to come to his house after, if you read my text, I said to him, hey, bro, I think I misunderstood your text message. If I did, my bad. If not, I'll show up at your house with the police. I never went to his house. I waited to see if he'd be the big man and just send me my money like he said he would.
I listened to the message, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
The message sounded threatening.
Did you read the rest of them?
I don't care. That message sounded threatening. Where does it say here that his tires were slashed?
In my mind, somebody writing that against me, flattened tires, what else would it be?
But you have to understand that that's not what this says.
And later today.
I was financially struggling.
Well, you weren't living together at the time.
No, she would periodically come over and
yeah, but you weren't living together at the time. So how would she find out that you were in financial trouble?
Jeremy DeTorres claims his former employer, Chad Young, owes for unpaid wages and filing a false restraining order.
Okay, that message alone, if he felt threatened because you were going to come to his house, and you not only said you were going to come to his house, but you used an expletive before you did that, which sounded threatening. This may be more benign, but that phone message was sufficient for him to file for a protective order against you.
Okay, why didn't he show up at the protective custody order?
I don't answer your questions.
No,
you don't necessarily.
Absolutely.
Some people don't pursue it because once it's done, it's done.
It wasn't done.
And once it's done,
This is the dismissal right here. Dismissal for the
No, I didn't show up. I understand he didn't show up, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm saying to you, I listened to your text message, and he had an absolute right to see.
Can you see where he threatened me as well with all these back and forth texts and calling each other? Because it's in the text
You're
messages.
suing him for money owed for wages and filing a false restraining order.
Okay.
You've proven that you worked an additional day for which he didn't pay you, which is $210. He has a counterclaim. Yeah. He says that you vandalized the tires on his car. The rest of it, I'm not dealing with, sir. You picked this employee. You don't then sue the employee if you don't like the job that they do. You fire them and you get somebody else to do the job. But you can't sue him because did the person who you did the job for sue you?
No, because I've got a really good reputation with my customers.
Because you fixed it. Because it wasn't done right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even up to that last day I said he worked for me, that job I had to go back to 2 weeks ago. That they couldn't close on the house.
And next time you won't hire him. Yeah. Maybe other people won't either. But I want you to tell me about the tires. I want you to tell me what proof do you have that he had anything to do with your tires? When were the tires slashed, flattened?
So the police report was done Friday when he made the threats.
Friday. What's the date?
I got the date right here. I think it was
August 5th.
Yeah, so August 5th is when he did it.
August 5th is when
the police report was made for the threats.
For the threat, for the voicemail?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so it was the end of the day Friday, so court's closed for the weekend.
August 5th?
Yep. And then Monday, the 8th, I went outside to go to work. My tires were slashed in the end. At that point, I realized it was just over and done, and I need to go down and get a restraining order so people can't come onto my property.
Because you believed it was the plaintiff who was responsible. You believed you didn't have proof at the time.
Yes.
You didn't have proof.
Again, and even in my injunction, I knew all I needed was this police report to get the injunction, so I just put in my police report.
You're not talking about an injunction. You're talking about a restraining order.
Yeah, the restraining order. Yeah.
Okay.
I went to file the restraining. So in my restraining order, I put just my tires were flat. I did not put my tires were slashed at any point because I knew the police report was enough to get the restraining order.
Okay, your
so I
tires
didn't
were
go in
flat.
detail about my tires.
Okay, so in the police report, you have that your tires were flattened.
No, that wasn't on the police report because that didn't happen yet. The tire incident did not happen.
Okay.
That happened Friday. Monday morning, I went out in my vehicle to go to work. That's when I found them flat and slashed.
Did you file another police report?
That's when I went and filed the restraining order that day. And I have
Okay,
a
and in
copy
the
of that
application for a restraining order, you said?
that my tires were flat, and that was it.
Yes, okay.
I didn't mention that they were slashed.
Correct.
So I don't know how he would
Got
know
it.
my tires were slashed if I didn't mention it on my restraining order.
I don't know. That's an interesting question. Mr. DeTorres. Mr. DeTorres, stop your paper fluttering.
Okay.
What made you think that the defendant's tires were slashed rather than just the air let out of them?
Because I read this police report and it has a mark right here saying, or the file that he did.
Show me. And make a circle.
Right here, damaged property is what I read. He checked that I damaged his property because this is written against me.
Mr. DeTorres, do you understand my question, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm nervous in the
Just a second. This has nothing to do with nerves, Mr. DeTorres.
Well, I had no sleep last night.
That has nothing to do with sleep.
As far as not being...
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
What I'm asking you, Mr. DeTorres, is where does it say here that his tires were slashed?
In my mind, somebody writing that against me, flattened tires, what else would it be? He lives in a gated community.
Well, that could be...
Where's the surveillance showing me that my leg injury, the way I walk, is very distinctive, okay? If he's got proof that I slashed or flattened his tires, I said slashed. It's the same thing as flattened in my mind. That's the way I think. The way I read that, that's just how it came out of my mouth.
But you have to understand that that's not what this says.
Okay? It says that I damaged his property.
He said damaged his property, and you said slashed tires.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
How much were the tires?
$450.
Let me see the receipt.
I do not have a receipt because I pay cash for my tires.
Well, that's too bad. You better stop paying cash, sir. You can pay cash for tires.
Yeah.
But when you buy tires with cash and you want to sue for them, you get a receipt.
Yeah.
From the people. And if you know you're coming to court, we're not talking about things that happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You were coming to court today.
I went back to the tire shop and he's like, we just, we always do cash for all your vehicles. And
well, what do you mean cash for all your vehicles? That means you get a receipt. All right, your counterclaim's dismissed because you have no proof of anything. On the complaint, sir, I'm awarding you $210, which is 1 day's pay. Thank you very much. This case is over.
This court is adjourned.
The work just wasn't up to the quality that he promised he was going to offer.
It is what it is.
That's just his nature. That's always been his nature.
The judgment is what the judgment is. She felt like I was only awarded a day's pay, and that's what she gave me.
Keep doing what I do. That's all I can do every day.
Well, Sarah Rose, that is the perfect example of you're supposed to have proof when you come to court.
Yep. Standard of proof exists for a reason.
I know that when I go someplace, and sometimes I pay cash. Mm-hmm. So even if you pay cash for something,
there's some
or Venmo,
record. Venmo
you're supposed to get a receipt in the event that you want to use whatever you bought and use that fact that you purchased something in a subsequent lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as sending a gift. If you send somebody a gift, you keep the receipt until you know that they got the gift.
Yeah.
Then you take it and you throw it away. It's just
good bookkeeping. It's good record keeping.
And he's a business guy.
Yeah.
He's a business guy. Didn't make sense to me, but clearly plaintiff for somebody who has a little trouble.
Yeah.
Case 2137, Weiss versus Light. All parties, please step forward.
Caitlin Weiss is suing her ex-boyfriend, Cody Lipe, for unpaid loans.
Ms. Weiss, the defendant was a boyfriend of yours for a period of time.
Correct.
And you allege a couple of loans. One from a year and a half ago, the balance of a $200 loan, he paid you back $100.
Yes.
Quite frankly, I'm not interested in what happened a year and a half ago. What you say is, I need time to catch up.
It was a verbal conversation.
Well, what's in writing is you saying to her, I can make payments to you. But the thing that you don't have in writing is where she gave the loan. Is that right?
Caitlin Weiss claims her ex-boyfriend, Cody Lipe, is refusing to pay back loans she gave him during their relationship.
Okay, in March of this year, you allege that you gave him money. He was still your boyfriend in March of this year, is that right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
And in March of this year, he had gotten a car. What kind of car did you get?
It was a Buick Regal.
What year?
A 2004, I believe.
Where did you get it from?
I got it from a private seller.
How much did you pay for it?
$850.
Needed fixing.
Yes.
And you didn't have money for parts,
I did for the first round of parts.
but you didn't for the second?
After the first ones failed, I did not.
And how much did you need for parts?
That I don't remember.
Who bought them?
Miss Weiss did.
Did you buy them on a credit card?
I believe so, yes.
And you have no idea what you paid for those parts?
I don't remember.
But that would be in March of 2022.
It would have been in April.
Did you pay for the parts by credit card?
Yes, I paid between Cash App transactions that were transferred to Mr. Leip through Cash App, which I have present here.
I'd like to see proof of them. What do they total?
They totaled up to $920.
Does that sound about right, Mr. Lippy?
That's about right.
Okay. And tell me about the discussion that you had with her when she paid for these parts.
There was a discussion of how I was going to pay her back.
And what did you tell her?
I did agree at that time.
And then what happened?
There were then later discussions as we were still in a relationship and I was in financial troubles that she told me not to worry about it.
This 920 was a loan in April of 2022. That's what you say. It was in April, not March.
Correct.
And then you say at some point she forgave that loan.
Right.
Tell me when that happened.
Shortly after the car got back together, which would have been in May. I was financially struggling.
Well, you weren't living together at the time?
No, she would periodically come over and
yeah, but
stay
you
at my
weren't living together at the time. So how would she find out that you were in financial trouble?
I mean, we were at that state in our relationship where she knew basically my financials all the time.
When did the two of you break up?
I believe that was in June.
So shortly after you say she forgave the loan.
That is correct.
Did you ever forgive this $920 loan?
No, I did not. Brennan Black was there the day that I had confronted Cody at a car meet and had offered him a short little payment of $790 where Cody said he would do it in payments.
Just a minute. You broke up in June.
Correct.
He says that you had a conversation before that, sometime in May, where you knew he was in financial difficulty. Did you ever have that conversation with him?
No, that is incorrect. I do have statements here to prove it as well.
I'd like to see them. So then you said he owed you $970. He had been giving you some money?
Yes, he had been giving me
It says, so that puts you at $670, okay? That's what you wrote.
Correct. He had been giving me money periodically throughout the beginning of the car parts.
Okay, but it says, so that puts you at $670, okay?
Yes, there's more transactions on the Cash Apps as well.
Oh, after that?
Yes, correct. Sorry.
No, sir. What you say is I need time to catch up. There's no forgiving here unless you have some...
It was a verbal conversation.
Well, what's in writing...
Right.
What's in writing is you saying to her, I need some time to catch up. I can make payments to you. All of that is in writing. But the thing that you don't have in writing is where she forgave the loan. Is that right? Yeah. $920. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done here. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
It is what it is.
I think it was fair. Mr. Leip did owe me money, and he got what he deserved.
Yes, she lent me the money, but at the same time, she was helping me out in a relationship, and she knew I was struggling.
He said he was going to pay me back and never followed through even after that.
There were discussions about her telling me not to worry about it.
Not to trust so much.
I'm never going to do it again.
Oh, that's going to be a contract.
She was very prepared.
Oh, she was to the point, knew exactly what she needed.
And she had all of her evidence. Yep. All
just the way we like it.
All lined up. It's unfortunate when a loan becomes a gift and a gift then becomes a loan when the romance is over. These writings are always so helpful, and these text messages really are making my life much easier.
And one thing that I mention a lot is with Cash App or Venmo, always state if you're paying someone money, don't just send the money, put in the subject line. They have a subject line on those for a reason, for this car part, for this tow, for this XYZ, the other. So I always, when using Venmo or Cash App or something like that in an online transfer system, I'll send the money, and then in the transaction, you can put whatever you want in the memo line of Venmo. So housekeeping for me, I'll pay through that. Other things, I list housekeeping for, and I put the date and the hours. So I at least